Morning, everyone. This is Merlina McCullough, and coming from Arkansas. I have to change my background right now, and then I will talk to you. Um, yeah, I like that one. Okay, so this is number 101, and I am so excited to talk to you all. So, if you are a first timer, first time of attending the Zoom, please be ready with 2 or 3 minutes introduction and include your name, your degrees, number of experience, what subjects you have taught, and maybe you're teaching philosophy and extracurriculars. And maybe at the end, you can tell us why you want to teach in the US. I think that would be great. Okay, for those that have never seen any of my videos or never attended, my name is Dr. Merlina McCullough. I usually just want to say I'm just Merlina. So anyway, I am a retired educator. I was a former teacher and curriculum director, assistant principal, and National Board Coordinator, ESL Director, so many hats. Then K-12 literacy specialist in the district level, as long as in the state level from the Arkansas Department of Education. That's where I retired in 2016. So I've been retired for close to 9 years now. Actually, it's been 9 years because it was June. And since then, I have been involved in consulting work. So I do consultation across the globe. I have done, other countries, but I really concentrate in Arkansas because that's where I live. Been married to my husband, HD, for 38 years. We have 2 kids, Stephanie and Jet, and they are now in Arkansas and Hawaii. And we also have our bonus kids, Galen and Libby, and our grandbabies. Not babies anymore. They're 17, 19, and 24. It's Ali, Sedona, and Sydney. Anyway, my sisters, Carmela, Bibi, is in Texas with her husband John, and so is Milet, my sister, who's also a teacher, and she lives about 45 minutes from me. And my mom is 5 minutes away. Anyway, I am showing you what not to say, I guess, in your introduction for the teacher interview. In your teacher interview, you just avoid your personal info. I'm telling you this because I guess I wanted to know you to know me, because whenever you're in a classroom, you get to know your students. Okay, and that's kind of my sample for that, but not a sample for the teacher interview. Teacher interview, stay professional. Just stay about the things that I said earlier, your experiences, degrees, and so on. Anyway, I since retirement, I really thought that I would like to stay in the teaching the teaching industry to be informed about teaching still, because I guess I'm always going to be a teacher. So I decided to found ITSA, International Teacher Support in America, and along with my sister Mallet Trotter and my best friend Lisa Bailey, now Lisa Dale, and they are just amazing. Amazing educators. So anyway, I hope that one of them will show up. They're very busy for the summer, but anyway, the topics today about will be about teacher strategies or classroom strategies and classroom management tips, interview tips. I think those are really important because I have gotten so many emails, testimonial emails, saying that they have, thanks to our Zoom meetings, they have learned a lot or enough that they felt confident about the interview questions. And I think that the biggest part of that is about using the 5 core national board propositions. These are the propositions that if you go for the national board certification here in the US, you have to learn and live, really. I was one, or I guess that once you are one, you are one. But I was in 2001, and then for 20 years, I did get the funding, if you are a national board certified teacher. And I renewed it in 2011. But my sister and I both national board certified teachers, so we are the NBCT sisters. What I like about it is that knowledge of the students is just as important as knowledge of content. So you need to know your students before you even do the content, before you even tell them what to do on any of the subject areas. You need to know your students. Okay, it's so important that you get to know them, because the students you will think that I don't care to learn until I learn that you care. So to care is to know them, okay? And to know them is to share about yourself. I always share, I guess I was always sharing everything about my family, what's going on, we're going on a trip somewhere. Of course, you do not share with them your personal problems. You don't do that. But any little special things that I think they would learn from, I always shared with them. We went on trips a lot when I was when the kids were little and I was younger. We went to different trips in the United States. So I would share with them pictures. I would make a PowerPoint and share with them the different things we saw. I learned things so then later on when we had our classroom, we call them our morning meetings, then they were free. They felt free enough to like share about themselves and to with their classmates. And that formed a stronger classroom community when students feel like I'm important. I'm an important part of this class. I'm part of a family. I call that family. This is your family. So, we need to take care of each other. What is shared here do not need to get shared in the playground and anywhere else. And so Dr. At that time, I'm Miss Merlina. Miss Merlina's rule or Miss McCullough's rule is you do not, this is not something that you're going to gossip about if something is shared here. So this is a safe place. And that's something that you could establish. It doesn't just happen. You have to establish and you have to model that. You have to model respect, how to listen. When they're talking, you don't talk over them. You listened, and then when they're finished, then you would validate them like, oh, I hear you said this. So you restate what they said. And then that way they know you were listening. Did I hear you say this? Whatever, especially if it's funny or whatever. And then everybody just laugh. And laughing is good. Whenever you have humor in the classroom, that's just so effective. Because they'll remember that things that shocked them or things that made them fun, made them happy, or made them laugh are things that's gonna last. They're gonna remember that. Trust me. At the end of the year, I always had my students write the top 10 things that you learn in our class. Those things that we laugh so hard were always there on their list. Or things that scare them, like there was a spider. Oh no, there was a spider in the corner, and then they would laugh about that. So they would write about it because they remembered it. And things that they would remember also are things like they eat. So I always use food as like part of my lesson. So anyway, I see Aris coming on. Aris, I'm early. I actually just started to introduce myself. So I've been trying to do that every time is start my video with introductions and not take any time from your meeting. Mike, I don't know if Mike is coming or not. So we'll see. So Aris, are you from the Philippines or somewhere else?
Hello, Dr. Merlinda. Yes, I am from
Do
the
you want to turn on your
Philippines.
camera? I said,
Oh,
never
yeah,
stop
sure.
learning because life never stops teaching. I love that. Thank you for that quote. Yeah, there you are, Aris. That's a good one to use quote in your classroom, by the way. Have you done that before? Like every morning you have a different quote for them. And then as part of our morning meeting, we talk about it. So what does that quote mean to you? And so that gets you to know your students more. Have you done that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Because
Yeah.
I really believe that we need to be reminded every day that learning is very important because
Yeah.
probably, or not probably, it has always been the perfect ingredient for us to be able to reach our goals as a teacher. At the same time, it needs to um, that one also serve as a fuel so that we will always be reminded that we need to remind other people as well to keep working, to do things better so
Mhm.
that they would be able to reach the biggest and their full potentials, not only as a student, but of course as an individual.
Very good. Yeah, I love the point
Yeah.
that you're making there because you're making it, you're making the great point that it is that we continue to learn. The teachers are also learning from our students. And that's what I always say whenever you do your interview, make sure that you think about that. You always mention what the students are learning. It needs to be tied to that always. So have you had any interviews before?
Oh, well, I am planning to I'm so sorry. I'll be flying to Arizona next month, this 16th of
Oh,
July.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Congratulations. Are you excited?
I am very excited and
Yeah, it's very hot.
yeah, I don't know what am I going to experience. I do not really know what's waiting for me down the road, but of course as a Filipino teacher, I am very much willing to take all of these challenges. I know that physically I am very much prepared. Mentally I am, but emotionally and financially, I know I am going there. Hopefully and
Yay.
praying for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I mean, do you remember what they offered you as the starting pay there in Arizona? In Arkansas, it's 50,000, which is about 3 million pesos. What is in Arizona? Is it more?
Oh, since I was able to finish my masters a year ago, and yeah, they also I'll be receiving 50,000 US dollar annually.
Okay, so it's the same as
Yeah.
us. See, in Arkansas, yeah, it starts at 50. And
Yeah.
so, and that's usually, I think used to be Arkansas was one of the lowest, but now we kind of climb up since it was raised lately, then we are now not the one of the lowest. So Arizona is a really good state. There's a lot of nature. If you like nature, it's a desert. So it's very close to Las
Yeah.
Vegas. So it's very close to Las
Hmm.
Vegas. You're just gonna be an hour or two past actually from Las Vegas, but you're gonna have so much fun after school. You have a lot of places that you could go. Do you have friends already there that could maybe take you around? You have some
No,
support?
I no,
Not
I
yet.
haven't met anyone else. But of
Okay.
course, I'll just take it as it is. Once I step in, once I started working there, I know I could be able to build
Yeah.
a relationship among the other Filipino people out there,
Or
or
locals, the locals too,
yeah,
though. The local
yeah,
Americans,
the
make sure
local
that
people
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think that relationship is gonna take you a long way because you're gonna have a person that you go to ask questions. How do you do this? Or where do you go for this? Or whatever. The first thing that you need to know. How about the apartments though? Where are you gonna stay? Do you know where you're gonna
They
stay?
look they were the one who managed everything. So
Okay.
everything has always been fixed. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh, good.
yeah,
Perfect. You're
yeah.
in a school then that's very supportive. That's a good sign. Do you make sure, Aris, that you have to get the address, the particular apartment address, because that could be a question you'll be asked at the embassy. What is your address in the US? Physical address. So make sure that you have that ready. Okay, memorize it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yes,
memorize
yes.
it because that's I think that's very important that they have that arrangement done. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And then another one is well, I guess that's one thing that they're going to do is I'm sure that that if the schools have done that before, then they would not have an issue. But like you have to be the one signing it. And a lot of times, if the rent, for example, is 600, they want about three times that 1,800 because they're going to want the first of the month, the last of the month, so that's 2 months, and then the deposit, which is another month, so 3 months. So if the up rent is 600, be ready for 1,800, 1,800. Okay, because and that maybe I don't know yet if you can ask somebody when you get paid, but a lot of times they won't pay you until you get your Social Security, just because it's tied to that for taxes. So a lot of the schools, some of the schools are kind enough to like write or go ahead and assign you a temporary Social Security so you can get paid, but some of them would wait. And then the Social Security number will not come for another 10 days to 21 days. So you have the money to pay for food and other things while you are waiting for your pay. So be thinking about
Yeah.
that when you get your, to bring money here or credit card or whatever. So
Yeah,
anyway,
by the
so
way, that will be a shared apartment. So I'll also be working with another Filipino.
perfect.
He's a PE teacher from Sultan Kudarat. So basically, the payment for everything, including the gas, electricity, and everything, it will be split into two.
Good, perfect. That's
Yeah.
that's a perfect situation for you then. Are you already contacting your future roommate now? Are you already communicating with the person?
Oh yeah, we are. And
Okay.
as far as I know, he would be there on the second week of July. But mine, I'll be there this 16th of July. So I'm
You
very
have,
much excited.
yeah.
I have already booked my flight,
Yay!
and
I'm so excited for you.
yes,
Yeah.
and I'm very, very much excited. I do not really know what am I going to get, what am I going to experience, but of course, as a Filipino teacher, we embrace
Oh,
challenges.
you
And
will. Yeah, you
yeah,
will. You'll be fine. And you have a good personality. You're not shy, I can tell. And so you're gonna have friends, really quickly. It's gonna be like the Philippines, even hotter. Aris, it might even be hotter than the Philippines when you arrive. And then later on, it's going to get cold. So if you don't have any jacket, make sure get jacket. I always tell people, go to Salvation Army or Goodwill. Those are organizations or places here that are cheap. So go to that.
Mm-hmm.
They're used, but but they're good used. I mean, they're very a lot of times I would see jackets that are only, $8, for example, $4, and then it's $100 in a mall. So because I recognize the brand, my favorite store is Dillard's. So if it is a Dillard's brand, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is more than $100, or this is more than $200, and I'm getting it for $4. So it's a very big difference. And also you are helping others because that organization, that store is like that's where they get donations from everybody. You can donate there for
Mm-hmm.
tax deductible things, and then they give jobs to folks. So you actually, to me, you're giving to charity while also benefiting from it because you're getting something cheap. On Sunday, they have these colors every week that they have, their tags are colored. And then they have like, if you see that tag green, for example, for the week, it's half price for the week for anything that's green tagged. And then on Sunday, those green tags, those same colors would become $1. 50 pesos. So yeah, or 60 pesos. Yeah. So that's a good place to shop. You can also shop like appliances or anything really. You just have to check. And I know that appliances, they always check them, like that make sure that they work. And I think some people would bring things, but I never brought things back. I will always like, donate it or whatever, and they can fix it again or whatever. That's fine. But I never return things. I don't like returning things. I'd rather give it away. But anyway, so yeah, I am so excited for you. That is so awesome. Somebody's gonna meet you at the airport, right? You already made the arrangement?
Yeah, I will be picked up by the superintendent.
Oh my gosh. So that the superintendent is very hands-on. A lot of times, like
Yeah.
my dear friend Dr. Poole, she always does that. She's very thoughtful like that. She would have, she would make herself time to meet the new international teacher. And that's always a good sign. That shows that they're really supportive of having international teachers. Because if you find a school that could not even find somebody to meet you because obviously it's not important to them, that is not a good sign. And I've seen that. And that saddens me when I see that. Or sometimes they
Yeah.
have been, yeah, they have been so jaded because they have so many of them. They're like, oh yeah, they're you're not new anymore. But those schools, especially that are just beginning to have international teachers, I know they're really, really, really excited for you to become a member of their staff. So when is your
Oh,
first
yes.
day at work? Is it August?
No, actually, our professional development will begin on the 28th of July. So she requested if we could be there on the 16th of July or as much as possible. All the Filipino teachers or international teachers should be there starting 16th of July so that we could be able to process everything ahead of time. Because she made mention before that she won't be allow us to talk to the students or to stand in front of the class without the IVP or the fingerprint yet. So once we get there, that's the first thing that we should do first: acquire and have the IVP fingerprint, because
Yeah,
that one also be needed for certification. And
yeah.
she made mention as well that with regard to SSN, that one can be followed, and once we receive that, then we could be able to receive all of our salary. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. But yeah, that's right. But then I do not know. I thought that when you do your fingerprint, they'll need your social security number as well. So they may be assigning you a temporary one. Some schools are doing that, like all zeros or all,
Mm,
I don't remember which one, but they could do that. But a lot of times, everything you do here in America is tied to social security number. You cannot open a bank
yeah.
account without it. Make sure that you also get your state issued ID. You go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. That's where you get your driver's license, and they'll give you an ID that looks like a driver's license, except it's a non-driving license. The picture
Mm,
just look like it, but it's not. It's just for ID purposes only. And I don't know if it's free or $5, but it is worth it because anywhere you go, especially opening an account in the bank, they'll need your state issued ID. Okay. And to get that,
yeah.
you bring all your paperwork with you because they're going to want your visa and documents and things with you. So make sure that you have this little binder or whatever, organize everything and then take it with you so that whatever they need, you have it. Social Security, you also have to do it in person. You cannot do it online because it's the first time. So you also have to bring everything, all the paperwork with you, visa documents, everything with you because they're gonna, I don't remember what they want, but they'll want something from that binder, so okay. So
Yeah.
because I have some teachers before that had to go back more than one time because they did not have everything. And I said, why won't you just bring
Mhm.
everything you have, That way you're gonna have everything. So yeah, that's something that you will learn. Do you know if it's a big city or a small city? Small school?
Oh, no, actually, that is a very rural. That's how they
Okay.
describe it. Very rural.
Okay.
So
I would like
it's
that's where I
perfectly
live.
fine
I'm
with
very,
me. Yeah,
huh? What
it's
is it?
perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Where are you from the Philippines? What part are you in the Philippines?
I am from Metro Manila.
Oh no, you're a big city to a small city.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's like
I
going to the
used to have
province. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
like
I
going
used
to
to
the
have and I used to enjoy the sophisticated life of Metro Manila, but I think that's one of the challenges that I really have to face too. And as I have made mention earlier, as a Filipino teacher, I'm very much willing to embrace all of them. I
yeah,
know I could conquer all of these things.
yeah,
It needs to undergo process and
yeah,
matter of adjustment.
yeah.
And I know I could be there, and I know I would excel.
Yeah, I think you will too. A good, very positive mind. Good job. The while you're waiting for that time, you might want to go get some driving lesson, because you may, if it's rural, you may need a vehicle in a few days really. But at first, you'll have somebody with you, somebody that would offer you rides. Be sure that you offer to help them with their gas expenses and stuff, because nothing is free in America. So anything like that, you always try to offer. Some people will not take it, but some people would, to help the out
Yeah.
with gas. So anyway, but because you are so close to Las Vegas, you're gonna you're gonna experience city life. That's why if you drive, you can just go there any weekend. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
yeah, and it's
I really
beautiful.
have to. Yeah. By the way, they also informed me that it's just 3 hours away from Nevada and Phoenix. So, my plan would be once I could be able to get everything, I could be able to drive and I could be able to experience Filipino food and the sophisticated life of Nevada. I'm very much too open to these type of idea. By the way, they also informed me that the apartment is just a few walks away from the school.
Nice.
So that will be another greatest thing to look forward
Yeah,
to. But
you
then
don't have to worry about it.
um yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm also looking forward to the idea that knowing how to drive so that I could be able to explore the
yeah,
city of Phoenix, Nevada,
perfect.
California, and the nearby states.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you can find, I don't know, in Manila, if there is a driving place that you could take lessons. It's very cheap right now in the Philippines, but in here, you're going to be paying $50 an hour, 3,000 pesos for an hour. So that's going to be way cheaper in the Philippines. So I would always recommend that you go ahead. Like, in fact, if you go ahead and get your license in the Philippines, it will be honored here. So go ahead
Mm,
and get that if you can, because if it's a rural area, it's gonna be easy drive anyway. There's not much traffic. So it's gonna be
yeah.
yeah. So it's not gonna be a Manila traffic at all. Like that's kind of sounds like somewhere where I live. I'm 3 hours from every big city. So I'm 3 hours from
Mm,
Memphis, 3 hours from Little Rock, the capital. Like, Phoenix is the capital of Arizona. So anyway, yeah, it sounds like mine, very rural. But at first I was shocked, and be ready to be shocked, because I'm like looking for like big buildings. There's none. I was looking for like those skyscrapers we're used to seeing. I'm from Cebu. So like Manila, we're the second biggest city. So I was looking for that. My husband said, there's nothing here like that. And I'm like, oh no. So because especially the farther we came from the airport, the farther there's just nothing, bunch of farms, open spaces, lots of cows, just
mm,
all kinds, yeah, there's all kinds of pastures and things. And you'll be so shocked, like, oh my gosh, they're not using that land, because there's a lot of land. And so one of my well, my godmother from my wedding came over to see us, and she was so impressed about, oh my God, there's so much open space. They could build a bunch of houses in there, because America is huge. There's just a lot of land, especially in the rural area. They are crowded in the urban, in the big city. They're crowded, it's expensive there. But when you get to the rural area where you're going to be going, it's going to be a lot of open spaces, lots of farms.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it will be a good learning experience for you. It's new, so you're going to be
Yeah.
excited about it.
Absolutely. And of
Yeah.
course, as I have said earlier, I am taking one step at a time. I'll be there. And
Yeah.
I know that it would take a lot of process. And I am just stick with the process because definitely it would help me to become the best teacher I could be.
Yep, you will
Thank
be.
you.
That's right. Yeah. So how long did it take you for the process to get started? Like when you got started to apply until you got a job, how long did it take you?
You wouldn't believe, Dr. Merlina, that was 29 days to be
Are
exact.
you serious? What
I
got you
am
started? Tell
serious.
us about your process.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience.
Well, I started my journey or my application last year of 2024. So I started with different visa sponsors, EPI to name few, TPG, I forgot the other. So I tried to to try my luck if I would be able to get a principal's interview.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just realized that I think I'm not fated to it. So what I did was I tried DIY. We call that one as DIY or do it your own.
Mm-hmm. Do
So
it
I
yourself. Yeah.
sent directly, yeah, I sent it directly my application, my resume, my cover letter, and my foreign credential evaluation, my Maryland teaching license,
Mm-hmm.
and my reference letter directly to the email of the principal. And you know what? This particular school, Dr. Melinda, I thought I would not be considered because technically you won't be expecting anything because I sent um 30 to 40 to 50 or 80 applications every night. So you wouldn't
Wow.
remember.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember who
Which
would
one
give you
was
the
which?
chance or the opportunity. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did was I sent to this particular school way back first week of February, but then they just contacted me April 3 of this year. So imagine how
Long.
how many months I waited for the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they sent me an invitation that was April 3 of 2025, the interview would be April 23. So
Oh,
imagine the 20 days gap, right?
wow, that
So
is.
yeah, so I just really believe with the power of patience because during those times I had the time and the opportunity to go over with the school website to look for the best word that I could use during the application, or to technically I was able to figure out what kind of school they have,
Yeah.
or about their visions,
Good job.
missions, their goals and everything. So when I had the opportunity to be interviewed, I used some of those keywords during my
Awesome.
application. Yeah.
Yes.
And I made it. You know what, Dr. Melinda, I was invited, or we had the interview at 7 o'clock in the morning, Philippine time. Then it ran, or, well, basically it ran for an hour from
Whoa.
7
Okay.
a.m. to 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then at exactly 10:30 a.m. Philippine time, same day, I received the job offer.
Yeah, I'm so proud
Yeah.
of you. Don't I bet
And
that was so
then
exciting, right? That was so
yeah,
exciting.
and prior to that, I was able to get five interviews prior to Arizona. I was
Mm.
able to get an interview from Alaska, from Colorado, Virginia, Sacramento, California. But I think, as what we all know, that many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's always God's purpose
Yep,
that prevail.
that's
I
right.
know that I would grow. I would be, this particular school district was able to see my biggest potential or my fullest potential, and then I believe I would claim it that they see something in me, that is why after 2 hours I was able to receive the job offer. Then
Yeah.
right there and then the following day they sent me the contract, and then the third day I was able to contact to my visa sponsor, which was Amity. I was able to attach all the files that they needed. They checked everything, so on and so forth. I paid for um Sevis and everything, application program. So basically, it ran for 29 days. And last 29 of May, I was able to get my visa.
I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you. Good job. Hey, when did you find us between that? Where in the process did you find ITSA, our organization? When did you find us? Or did you see this on Facebook or
Oh,
yeah?
well, I have been following your Facebook account for, I think, for quite a long time, but
Okay.
then I never had the opportunity to be part of this
Okay.
platform. Yeah, because you know what? I know, Dr. Merlina, that my journey was not that easy. It was very tough
Mm-hmm.
because if you really wanted to penetrate the United States, you really need to make sure that you are really good. based from the information given by my superintendent, we are looking for highly qualified teachers. So basically, you know what, Dr. Mila, you wouldn't believe. She made mention that you are here, you are chosen because we know that you are highly qualified. We are not looking for mediocrity because mediocre people are everywhere in the United States. That's what
That's
she
about right.
said.
That's
So
about
we're
right.
looking for highly qualified teachers. And you guys, you made it here. So and you know that without saying it directly, but she's trying to imply that we are expecting something from you because you are chosen, right?
Yeah,
Many are called, but as what we all know, only
you are
few would be
chosen.
chosen.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah,
am very glad because I'm one of those. I know that there are a lot of teachers who are really better than I can do, who are more eligible, who are more skillful, and most of all, who are more experienced than I do. But then choosing me for that position, I think it's a big thing. And that one was
wow.
very overwhelming. So
Well,
I
that's
took everything
cool.
so seriously.
That is so
Yeah.
much. But did any of the questions, did any of our Zoom meetings, learnings, did you use any of them on your interviews that helped you?
Oh well, Dr. Melina, I was able to attend. I think this is just my second time of attending this Zoom session. So I wasn't able to witness or I wasn't able to get any idea from the previous Zoom sessions that you had before. It is my second time because I am now of this particular state in me wherein I want to inspire other people as well. That if that one happened to me, if that one happened to other teachers, just keep the faith. It would definitely happen to you. Just
That's
be
right.
patient, trust the process, and most of all, this is the idea that a lot of teachers are not familiar with or do not know that when you are trying to penetrate um, U.S. educational system, I believe that you need to craft a good resume, a good curriculum vitae, and most of all, um, your yourself as a teacher. You need to be good when it comes to communication because based from my superintendent, when you talk about highly qualified teachers, it's not just about having the PhD.
Mhm,
It's not just about being an experienced teacher for 25 years. It's not just like that.
mhm.
How can you consider someone as highly qualified if they could not really express themselves in English?
That's right.
And I know that being a highly qualified teacher, one of them would be being able to express yourself or being communicative or functional communicative in English language. And I just realized that I think I have that kind of qualities.
Good.
And when I had that kind of particular alignment in my heart, I just said to myself that I think I should give it a try. I think I should give it a shot. And then it happened. So I am a perfect example that if that is really for you, nothing is impossible. That one would be definitely happen. It will be really yours, no matter what circumstances you would experience, no matter how many challenges you would encounter along the way. But at the end of it all, if it's yours, it
It's
is
yours.
absolutely yours.
Yeah, I
Thank
think you're right.
you.
Oh my gosh, you are just full of really nice information. Thank you for sharing that. It's very encouraging for others, especially if they have been through this process for a long time and they still haven't gotten one. And it sounds like you're pretty blessed that you have, gotten a good school, gotten some really supportive administrators. So I wish you the best on your arrival here and then teaching. Make sure that you continue um to share here. That way we'll know about what you experience in Arizona. I think that would be cool because everybody's coming from different parts of the United States. It's like that story about that elephant, with the blind man and they're touching different parts of the elephant. It's kind of like that. You're going to be sharing different things because you
Yeah.
are in the different, states of the United States. So yeah, so that's I'm excited to hear that. My husband, when he was younger, had lived in Arizona. And he said it's
Wow.
beautiful there. Yeah, he said a couple of years, I think. So anyway, so yeah, he said it's a nice place. Grand Canyon. Oh my gosh, that has to be the first one that you should go visit. Grand Canyon, it makes you feel so little, like oh my gosh, God is so powerful. I feel so little to be this person and all this beauty right here. I mean, that was just amazing. That's got to be my most favorite tourist attraction in the United States. Just makes you
Wow.
feel the power of God, that He
I'll
made
be
this
there very,
beautiful.
very soon.
Yeah, take pictures because it is. I have gone there maybe 5 times. That's how much I like it. Because every time
Wow.
we go, yeah, maybe more because every time we go to Vegas, because I have family in Vegas, so we would have family reunions there. And so when we go for a family reunion, we'd stay 5 to 7 days at a time. And so anyway, so we would go do some tourist things. One thing that I have not done is like doing the helicopter, at night doing the helicopter ride in Vegas, and then you get to see all the lights and all the things in Vegas. I think that's something
Mm-hmm.
light view. I would love to see that. We did that. We did the helicopter ride in Mount Rushmore because those presidents picture on the rocks. That's the best. The best view is right there by its nose. Right there riding the helicopter. You can really see the whole statue, and that's the best. And but then when I ride them, like we should do that in other attractions like the Grand Canyon or Las Vegas and all that. Having in a helicopter ride is the best. It was like $130 per person. So, but that's just a few minutes, but it was worth it because otherwise you will not be able to see much. So yeah, those are some
Yeah.
things that you can look forward to. Save money. So you can do all these things. It
I
will
will.
cost you
I
money.
will.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
will cost you money. All right. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed talking to you, Aris, and I really am so excited for you also. You have family going with you, just you, right? This time you don't have any family that will be coming later.
No, I'll just be going there alone for my
Okay.
first year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You might end up getting married and have to bring somebody here there. That's what
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. That's why a bunch of the teachers have done is like their first summer off, they would go to the Philippines, they would marry their husband or wife, and then they would bring them over. And so that way they won't be lonely. Yeah. So that's something you
Yeah.
can do also. All right. Well, it was
Mhm.
nice talking to you and have a good trip. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Carmelita and Marco. I'd like to see Carmelita, you had your camera off. Marco. Marco, do you want to talk to me? We are
Yes,
recording.
Doc.
We are
Merlina, hello po.
recording, by the way. Yeah. So, Marco, I've talked to you before, right?
Hello, Doc. Yes, yes, Doc
Yeah, that's
Merlina.
why you look
I
familiar to me.
chatted. Yeah.
Have you had any interview since then, Marco?
Yes, actually, yesterday, Doc Merlina, I'm done with
You
my
did. We
interview
were
with.
communicating about that you were wanting to practice.
Yes,
I didn't see. Yeah, I didn't see
yes,
it in time. So sorry. How did the interview
yes, it's
go?
okay.
How did it go?
So far it's good. Yeah, it's good. They say that the result of the interview will be, I think, next week. So
Okay.
I will just wait by that moment next week. That's Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
The result of my interview.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best. I hope did it feel like did
Thank you
it
so
feel
much.
right? Did it feel like you had a good hope?
Yeah, I think because
Yeah.
I practice it with your videos. I watch not all, but because every video has 4 hours, I think 3 hours.
Oh,
So
I know.
some
You
of
just
the
have to
videos I
scan it.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah I scan and
Yeah.
very some of the I think that's 90 episode 90 I watch it and more on content about teaching about what is that again about the strategy of how do you teach and many more, I think. So because of that video, Doc Merlina, it really helps me in my interview, and I'm very
Good.
thankful for that.
Good. I'm glad because they will ask you questions that relates to the five core propositions. They'll ask you a question about knowledge of
Yes,
students,
Doc
right?
Merlina.
Knowledge of content,
Yes,
assessment,
yes.
reflection, and collaboration. So if you answer with those things in mind, that should be a good interview, right? So you were
Yes, Doc
visiting
Merlina.
with them like
Also,
we are doing? You're just visiting back and forth like this? You were not nervous? Were you
not
nervous?
so, yeah,
Yeah.
not so because they feel that I am genuine talk about the way they interviewed with me.
Yeah.
That's why
Good.
but my speak it's not totally fluent. I'm still um
Well, it gets better once you
practicing.
get here, as long as the students will understand you.
Yeah,
You
I
high
agree.
school social studies, you say, what was yours? What was your area?
Uh, Science, physical science.
Physical science.
But but the interviewer actually it should be the superintendent.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I think it she's busy. So the principal said the social studies teacher will attend my interview. So I don't know what happened to that superintendent. Maybe she's
Okay.
busy.
Okay. So it must be a small school then if it is the superintendent that interviewed you.
Yes.
It's a pretty small school.
Yes.
Okay.
Very
Have
small.
you
I
already
think
been
that's
talking?
100, 200
Huh?
plus only.
How many?
That's 200 plus students, I think. 200 plus
Okay, so it's a
or
small school.
500,
It's
I
kind of
think.
like, well, my school is small and
Yes.
it's got 400, so that's even smaller. So it's a pretty small school. So
Yes.
you'd like that because they're going to be very, very personal about it. Do you already have a visa sponsor that you're talking to in case you get an offer, job offer?
None so far.
Okay. Do you have that, do you have the link to those, to the visa sponsors that I've shared before? You know, if I've sent you
Yes, Doc Marlene.
there's there's a
Yes
list
po.
there. You need to start
I
contacting them. API
yeah,
was
I already
mentioned.
sent my the
Yeah,
API,
yeah,
the IAG, the Intrax, and a lot of more
yeah.
visa sponsor that I
Start
already
contacting
sent.
them and telling them you
Yes.
email them and say, I have just gotten an interview, but if I'll, I don't know if I got it or not, but if I do, I would love to see if you could help me out with the application. If you have any visa slots available. You need to say that because
Yes, Doc Marlene.
if you mention the word job offer, you say, I might be getting a
They
job
will
offer
reply.
in a few days or whatever, they'll be interested because there's going to be thousands of teachers contacting them, but the magic word is job offer. If you mention something about a job
uh,
offer, they'll be more open to that.
they will
Okay?
reply.
Yeah, they will reply,
Right.
possibly. So anyway, but they won't talk to me because I'm not one of the candidates. So I cannot contact them at all. I'm partners
Yes.
with, I am kind of talking with Cultural Vistas. So if you go to culturalvistas.org, that's Caroline Gillum. And in that paperwork that I sent you, the document, I have her email there. And so is Glenn from Minga House Foundation. He is not a visa sponsor, but he's connected to 4 or 5 visa sponsors. So he could place you. But the thing with
Yes.
Mr. Glenn is that he wants a bigger school. He does not like to deal with people with a school under 1,000.
With the small school.
And he also wants a school with good rating, like an A or B rating, grade. So he's picky about that. And I guess his partners are picky, which, I think most visa
Yes.
sponsors are picky. But the thing is, the reality is those schools that are needing international teachers are those that could not get local teachers to apply. Because a lot of times, because
Yes.
they are a school with low grades, a D school or an F school, and that's why, or a C school, they want to get better. Okay. And so that's why the international teachers are being sought for, because a lot of times they have improved the scores because they do a good
Scores.
job of teaching. So anyway, all right. So nice talking to you, and I'm so excited. Marco, would you please email me if you get
Yes.
the job? Yeah, I would love that. I would love to
Yes,
hear
Doc
that.
Marlena.
Yeah,
Me
okay.
too. Thank
I
you
just
so
talked,
much.
thank you for attending also. Aris, I just talked to Aris
Yes.
a while ago, who is coming to Arizona on the 16th of July. He's very excited for Aris.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Congrats,
That
sir.
could be you in a few days. Okay, Carmelita, do you want to talk to me?
Soon.
And then
God's
there's
will.
Gina and Giselle. Giselle, thanks again. Giselle, can you be my co-host, Giselle? Because Mike must be busy.
Yes,
So,
Doc. Okay, Doc.
okay, I will do that right now. I have to look for you. Let me see. I'm gonna make Giselle as my co-host. Make host, okay? So now you are, so you can let everybody in for me. In the chat, Giselle, if you don't mind, put the list, that link to the visa sponsors and also the link to the 50, the state, the 50 job
The 50,
postings.
50 Doc. Yes,
Yeah, do you
Doc.
have that? Do you have that somewhere?
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc. I have that.
Okay. So I think I have this document. Some of you or most of you should have gotten this, but this is a document with all kinds of information, guys. So if you don't have this document, you may want to copy and paste this document into your a new Word or Google Doc so that you could access it. It's a document from me that I made, and it has all the links for some interview tips, some videos, some the designated visa sponsors, the Zoom link is in there even. And so anyway, all kinds of information that I have accumulated by helping others, I have put these things together. So it's a good thing to have a copy of it, and feel free to share it if you want, okay? So let me see. I even thought about sharing this on the Facebook, but I felt like there's so many members there that are not teachers. So I felt like, well, they don't really need this. So that's why I usually share it in the Zoom. Okay. So Carmelita, talk to me, Rama. Where are you from the Philippines?
Yes. From Negros Oriental, Doc.
You're from Negros, and I have talked to you
Yes.
before too, right?
No, Doc. This is
No.
my first time, Doc.
I have emailed you back and forth on the Facebook. Now on I saw you on Facebook. Is that where did I see your name? Facebook a lot, right?
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc.
Yes. I felt like I know you because I know your name a lot. Because I always look and see who liked my photos or videos, and you're always coming up. And I'm like, I think you might be one of my top fans, right? In the ITSA?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Doc.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's how I recognize that. I'm like, I want to meet this person, especially if it's a new one. Yeah, so it's nice to meet you. So tell me about yourself then, if you don't mind. Tell
Yes.
us about you.
Good evening. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you, Doc, for this opportunity, for accepting me to
Mm-hmm.
this platform, and to my fellow educators. Good evening. So, by the way, I am Carmelita Pinheiro Caro from Negros Oriental. I am a graduate of Bachelor of Elementary Education at Foundation University. I am also, or I also completed the academic requirements of Master of Arts in Educational Management at Negros Oriental State University. And in the same university, I also completed the academic requirements of Master of Arts in Special Education.
Okay.
And moreover, I am in the service of teaching in the public elementary school for over 14 years, in which I was assigned for 9 years in the countryside school, in which I handled fourth grade, and with 40 to 45 learners. And I was transferred to a school near the highway where I handled third grade level with 30 to 35 learners, and with learners who have learning disability. And last year, I was promoted to handle special education class. Moreover, I am the winning coach for the different competition, which are modulo arts in mathematics, oral reading in Filipino and in English, table tennis for boys. And in addition to that, I am also a district facilitator or a resource speaker, a district demonstrator, and a district module writer. Lastly, I am a type of person who has a positive outlook in life, in which I make sure that my learners would have fun yet meaningful learning experience with me.
Okay. Why do you want to come to
Okay.
the US?
I want to come to the US for several reasons. One of it is because I want to grow. I want to, or for some reasons, which are for personal and professional development. And aside from it, I want to travel going in the US. And it is because I also wanted to be globally competent. And lastly, it is for economic reasons.
Okay, very good.
That's
I love that you put the economic reason at the end. Good job. When you said modular writer, you might want to explain that because they don't know that. We don't have that here. So you just say modular writer means that I get to write the module, the units, the lessons that other teachers would use. So you could say that,
okay, Doc.
right?
Thank you.
So during,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So you write the units, the lessons or the activities that the other teachers will be using in the district. Okay.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's what
Okay, Doc.
that's
Thank
what you need to say that because they don't, what? Module writer? They don't know that. Okay, so that's not something that we do here. We usually say in here in America, they'll have like a literacy specialist and a math specialist. I am a literacy specialist. So I'm K-12. So anything that's K-12, anything professional development, I wrote. You know, I would develop one and I would do it in front of the teachers. But we also have a state level. I was also a state level where, you know, in the Arkansas State Department of Education, I was at a state level where we wrote we call them the training for the trainers, TOT, teachers, trainers of trainers, because we are trainers of trainers because these trainers would train the teachers. So we are in this level here in the state, and then we'll do there are 15 different co-ops places that we do training, and then all these 15 co-ops, they'll have 22 so many schools are members, and then they would go to this co-op, and this whoever we trained will train these teachers. So they'll have they had at one time they changed it now, but they had like the math PD folks, the math literacy specialist, and the science specialist. So you had the three specialist areas that we would do.
Okay.
And so we met like once a month and we would do training, with everyone. And a lot of times they were televised. So they were seeing us, they were seeing us on the video. They were required to watch it. And there's always a representative from every school that would watch it. And a lot of times they're administrators. So that's funny because I was the only Filipinos, the only minority there. Well, there's some Black friends of mine there, but I was the only Asian Filipino there. And so they would recognize me. And so they would see me in meetings. They think, I know you. And I said, what do you mean you know me? I don't know you. I said, yeah, I've seen you on TV. And I'm like, okay. So that is neat though, that they would recognize you because we look different. We don't look like everybody else. And I'm proud of that, that is something that, it's nice that our Filipino heritage is acknowledged. And I always tell my own, and be proud of that. You do the same. When you come here to America, be proud that we are Filipinos. And we are here, and part of your answer should be because I want to learn about the culture of Americans, the African culture, as well as share my own culture, because J1 visa program is an international exchange program for teachers. That means that it's done because there is an international exchange of information about culture. So that's the whole purpose of the program, is for us to learn about each other's culture. That's why it's set up for 5 years you stay here, and in 2 years you have to go back to the Philippines and teach the Filipino teachers and other folks about what you learned for the last 5 years that you're here in America. So that 2 years is requirement. They call them the 2-year physical requirement that you have to go back. In the past, there had been some waivers available, and I think the Philippine government had cut that off. But there used to be waivers where you don't have to go back for the 2 years, that you can just go straight and renew. Not now. You have to do 5 years, go back to the Philippines for 2 years, or another country. You can do another country, and then come back. You can do another 5 years again. So that cycle can go on forever. But if you can find a school, for example, Aris is coming to Arizona. So if that school would like him so much, and they would say, okay, after the 2 years that you're back from the Philippines, we will want to hire you back. So if Aris knows that they really like him, he could say, can you please do an H-1B visa this time? And that way we wouldn't have to go through the 5-2 cycle. They can do, because the difference is H-1B visa means that you are going to be in a path for green card. Okay, that means that they are, after 2 or 3 years, he could apply for a green card. And when he's approved, then within 5 years after being a green card holder, he could take his test to become a citizen. You have to be physically present in the United States for 5 years before you could, or maybe since green card holder, I don't remember if it was since coming in or since getting the green card. But anyway, there's a 5-year requirement in order to take your test for the U.S. citizenship test. But that's the only visa for that would be your J1. I mean, not H-1B, not J1. J1 is always going to be in your interview for the embassy. If they're going to try to trick you and ask you if you're going to stay in the United States and you're on J1, you better not say, no, yes, I am, because you're not supposed to say that, because the purpose of of the J1 is for you to go back and teach what you learned. Okay, it's not for you to stay. Okay, but if you are an H-1B visa, then that's different. because that is a job based, employment based visa, and you can stay for that, but not on J1. You will fail if you say, yeah, I want to stay in the Philippines or in the US because it's nice, whatever. Don't say that. They'll try to trick you. Okay, yeah, because although
Okay,
you
Doc.
have that, please don't have that intention either, because that you are the wrong visa to have that intention. The intention, you're gonna hurt the vision of your visa sponsors if you have that intention of not going back, because that would ruin their program. That would say, so this program is having people that are, TNT, tago ng tago, hide and hide. That is not a good thing for the visa sponsors to be in the record. So if you're respectful for the visa sponsors, you need to do what it says, which is about learning about each other's culture. Okay, so be sure to say that. So
Okay.
modular
Yes, Doc.
reading is
Thank
not,
you for that.
yeah.
Okay, Doc.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you.
But you're very fluent. I think you're ready. Aris, I'm gonna get your opinion because you just finished an interview. Aris, what do you think about her? Do you feel like she's fluent enough? Be honest.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. She's doing well. Yeah.
yeah,
Same thing with Sir, the one that you talked to earlier.
yeah.
I know that they're doing a
Serrano,
great
yeah,
job.
Marco,
Yeah.
Marco
And of
too.
course, the best thing that I could
Thank you,
share
sir.
to all applicant or for those teachers who would be having their interviews in the future, do not forget to smile and
Yeah,
show your comedic side, right?
yeah,
Make them laugh.
yeah,
You need to make sure that you are remarkable and unforgettable. That's
yeah,
what I did.
yeah,
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that's why
yeah.
I know that I became remarkable.
Right,
And
because
that
they will remember if you
yeah,
make them laugh. Yeah,
Nice one, sir.
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. They make them laugh. That's awesome. Did you make them laugh, Marco? Did you do something funny?
Yes, Doc Merlina. I keep on.
Because then
I'm
when you do that, you're
always
relaxing. You're
smiling.
not, yeah, no, nervous. But do you remember what you said that was funny?
Yeah.
What was it?
I think about the home visiting
Oh,
in
okay.
our
So,
school, Doc Merlina. There is a question about how how I entertain parents. I think then I talk to them na I need it's about absenteeism. Yeah,
mm,
that's what, about the absenteeism of that student, and then I answered it through I in our school in the dep ed we actually have a home visitation, so we need to go to their house and to check what happened, why it's something like that, and so on. So that's how I answer.
yeah, they like that answer, didn't they?
Is it okay,
But
Doc Marlena?
yeah, and that's a good answer, especially that you're dealing with a small school. If you are talking to a big
Yeah.
school, you may not want to say that because that's a dangerous thing to do in a big city. Yeah. So you are, yeah, in a small town like mine or town Aris was sharing about his, that may be fine. I actually did some home visit when I was teaching. I was teaching in my area where I live for 15 years, and everybody knew everybody. My husband and I owned a cable company, that turned into the internet company later. But we owned a cable company and we had the car wash, we had the laundromat. So they know me as the cable lady. And they know me as, yeah, they know me as
Favorite.
or I also had a store in town where the office was. I had a store. So they know me as that. I had a Merlina's designer outlet. And so they know me as Merlina's, oh yeah, she owns Merlina's. But anyway, so it was good because once you don't really have to introduce yourself much because they already know who you are. Still now, after being here in town for 38 years, they would say, "Hi, Merlina," and I'm like, "Do I know you?" And they said, "Yeah, I know you." He said, "We know you, but you might not know us." But I go to bingo every Friday night, and we have like last night. There were so many people saying, "Hi, Merlina." I'm like, "What?" And I'm bad about my memory. But anyways, but that's good about the home visit because that is something to me was so powerful. I got to understand my students more when I saw their surroundings and I saw talk to the parents and what's important to them, and all that really gave me an understanding more of an insight about that child, an understanding of, okay, so one of the parents I visited, for example, was because when I was teaching elementary, I've taught high school, elementary. When I was teaching at elementary, which I like, fourth grade was my favorite. When I was teaching fourth grade, I visited this home because I always have a contest with my students. If you have 100%, parent teacher conference attendance, they get a pizza party for me. My husband and I usually will be sponsored. I would feed them pizza, a bunch of pizzas, but it has to be 100%. And this one parent called and said, well, I can't really come because we don't have any gas for our vehicle. My husband lost his job and I just had a baby and all this. So I said, hey, I'll come visit you. Because I want the students to have the pizza party. So after the thing, I said, oh, can I visit you after all the parents are gone? We end at 7 o'clock at night, I think. So anyway, so I said, is that okay if I come visit you? I'll just stop by on my way home. I said, well, really, it's not really my way home because I live across the road, but I said, well, I'll just stop by before I go home. And so I said, okay, that'll be fine. And so I went down there and I really got to understand, yeah, okay, that's why this child does not have pencil, does not have notebook, because they really just barely surviving. And so it's not like in the Philippines, we might think, hey, Americans, we think dollars, we think they have money. No, just like the Philippines, there's going to be some rich ones, there's going to be some medium, mid-level, and there's going to be really poor. And we have some really poor folks in my area as well. And that really was surprising to me because I still had that understanding that, oh, everybody's rich in America, because the money's times 60, times 50, back then it was times 20. Yeah. But anyway, and I said, but it's not true. You got to see the homes that they are living in. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed and all this. Of course, you don't say these things, of course, but I just happened to observe it when I came in, and the condition of the home and all this. So you could see that, not to judge, but to understand. Always not to judge, never. It's to understand why your children are having problems getting their supplies. And it opened my eyes to say, why am I getting in trouble? And why am I getting these kids in trouble for not having supplies? I'm punishing them when they really cannot afford it. And so that really made me change also my policy about getting them in trouble when they don't have their supplies. So in the Philippines, it's so big on like, you have to come in school, ready. And I used to be joking about, if you come to school without your supplies, it's like going to war with your bathing suit on. I used to say that. But after visiting doing those home visits, I understand that is not a priority for them. Food is priority for them. Buying pencils, buying notebooks, buying whatever, binders, that's not a priority for them. They don't have the extra money. They have a new child and they had to buy milk. And so anyway, the thing here, we do have help. The government does help, so they have this little credit card thing that they could use, usually about $200-300 a month, and they could buy they are restricting them on how much they could, they could not just waste it. It has to be the food and and some healthy things, not anything the junky, but still there's a help. But you can see the poverty when you have 4 or 5 kids and one was a baby, and the child would tell you that we don't have enough food at home. And that's why, as a teacher, on Fridays, I would actually have all these goodies, all this food. My husband would say, what are you doing with all this food? Because I have them in my filing cabinet. I have this whole drawer of filing cabinet. I'd pull it. It's like a grocery store there, because I would fill up their backpack in the backpack on Fridays, so that just before they leave, I'm like, okay, come on, let me give you this something first. So I would do that. I would just, put it there. And I wrote a note to the parent. I hope it's okay that I'm sending snacks for my student because he's been so good. I would say that because I don't want him to think, well, who does she think she is? Does she think that we couldn't afford money, food for our child? There's that pride thing too. So usually I would just like write a note saying, I hope this is okay. If this is not okay, let me know, and all that. And of course, when I visited them, they know that I'm not trying to judge or anything like that. I'm not, I came from poverty, and I share with them. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 6 in our family. We don't have any money. We didn't have any lack of food because my mom was in food service business, but we did not have any money. I was the 4th child, and by the time that dress came to me, it was faded. And so anyway, so I would share things like that about myself, and they knew that, oh boy, she's not, my life might have improved a little bit here now, but I always remember where I came from. I always do that. You do not reach your destination unless you look back at where you started from. Always think of that. Always think about where you came from. You do not just, get snobbish and say, hey, I'm in America now. You don't know, I'm too good. Don't ever do that. That's one thing that I would like to tell everyone. Don't do that. Don't change. Don't change to the worst, because Jesus's leadership style was servant leadership style. It's like you serve others. You wash the feet. So in our profession in teaching, we serve the teachers, we serve the colleagues, we serve the students and the parents, all the stakeholders in the community and so on. We serve them. We are here. It's a service industry, right? It's a service job, right? And I think you all, I could just tell with your faces that you are gonna be open and positive and not judgmental. And that's something that I would never want to see that, or I don't want any of the administrators telling me that, Merlina, your teacher, they would say your teacher, like, why you say my teacher? Your colleague, your friend, whatever, your teacher friends are this. I would not want a negative thing saying that they're too good. They think they're too good, or they think they're better than others or whatever. I don't want to hear that. I've never heard that, by the way, so it's a good thing. But I do not want to ever hear that, right? Because they can tell. You don't even have to say. I think, do I see, 70% of our expression of our language is actually nonverbal. It's actually what they read in your face. And the poorer our students, the better they are at looking at that reaction, at looking and reading your face, because I know I came from poverty. I can read faces, I can really read them well. When I'm doing an interview, I'm also like interviewing them, actually. They're not just interviewing me. I'm actually also wanting to know about them. So when they say, do you have a question for us? I would also ask questions about, okay, what do you do here as a PD, as a professional development? What do you provide for new teachers, for international teachers? What are the help that you do for the international teachers? Like, for example, the housing, to get the housing ready, because I'm 10,000 miles away. How can you help me? Zillow.com, by the way, is a good thing to check the apartment. Zillow.com, realtor.com, apartment.com. Anyway, so you ask those specific questions that you really wonder about. Okay, but you could not ask the good questions unless you have done what Aris did, which is to study about the school, visit the website, Google them, Google their community, all that, know their vision and mission, read their parent handbook, teacher handbook, all those handbook they're posted on their website. Those are required, by the way. And then if you even look at their board agenda, the school board meeting is done every month, is required. So they would post those board meetings and board agenda. You read it. You know exactly what's going on at the school, because they'll tell about in the board meetings what's going on. If somebody was expelled, somebody was, got an award, somebody did this, they're sending folks to some PD. They would say all that stuff there. So when you read those, and you see a lot of people being expelled, that might not be a good sign. That means, oh, there's a lot of behavior problems in this school. So you might want to look for that. And also their discipline policy. Is it like, what happens when the child, a lot of times that, first time that misbehavior happens is a warning, a verbal warning. Second time, this is a common thing, but everybody does it differently. Second time, you may want to, in our old school, we write the name of the student's name on a board to warn them. But now I really understand that that's not something you do, especially in high school, because that's embarrassing them. It's like telling everyone, hey, this student misbehaved. I would rather have that board be made into a positive board, like I'm bragging about this kid. So you could have a separate board somewhere where, it doesn't have to be public, but it's for you to know that that child is already a warning there. And then the next time it happened, there's a check mark. Okay. And when the check mark means that they're going to be referred to the counselor, or, whatever it is in the school. But at our school at that time was the counselor. And after another check mark, we call the parents. I already talked to the counselor, I already did the warning, and then we talked to the parents. And in the third check mark, that's when they go to the principal. And that is a big problem, because that's the last resort. That means you have already tried talking to the parents, you already tried talking to the guidance counselor, but yet nothing happened. So the principal would have to step in. But to me, I always took care of my discipline. when I did, like there's some, I think of the United States, 50 states, there's only 9 schools that would still do corporal punishment, which is spanking. I would not recommend any of you to spank any kid. Okay, do not, because if you whip that child and then there was a mark and the teacher, the parents would take a picture of it, they could sue you. And that would be, if they win, you could be labeled as like a sexual offense, and that you have to register, and you lose your license and everything. It's like a big deal. And so in my school where they still did corporal punishment, I said no, I would not do that, but I would not mind if they will be suspended for 3 days. I would rather have that. Or if you really want to spank this child, because they always call the parents anyway, then I would want you to do it. I told the principal that. I would want you to do it. I don't want to do it. Because there was a couple, I did it twice. But then then I learned about, reading about these cases, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. I worked too hard for my degree. I don't want to lose my degree and, be labeled as a sexual offender, and would never be able to find a job anywhere and would lose your license. So it's a big deal. And so anyway, so they understood. Even when I became an assistant principal, in the US, when you're assistant principal, you are in charge of the discipline. And so during my interview, I told them, hi, if it's okay with you, if you're going to give me this job, I would not want to do corporal punishment. I would not spank children at all. And this was junior high, 8th and 9th graders. And so I said, well, that's okay, because Merlina, in that building, there's going to be a dean of student, which means that's what he does, is he does the spanking. And I'm like, okay, good, because I'm not doing it. There is an in-school suspension. They call that ISS here, in-school suspension. And so I would rather have them be sent to in-school suspension, for 3 days or 2 days or whatever, but not me spanking them. But of course, I would never tell students that. They didn't know that I was not going to go spanking. I would never publicize that. Nobody knew, except the people that interviewed me. Because I told them, the boss, I said, nope, I'm not doing it. It's just not worth my degree, my, my life, my professional and personal life. So anyway, they understood. And so just be careful about that, okay? Because there are still 9 states in the United States that still do that as part of their thing. But a lot of the places now where I live are actually practicing discipline with dignity. Discipline with dignity means that you do not embarrass the child in front of others. You give the child, you empower the child to solve her own problem. You say things like, so what is your plan? So this is what happened. And what do you want to do again when you grow up? Well, I'm going to be a doctor. Well, so what's your plan? Is this something that happened? Is this something that would lead you to your goal of becoming a doctor? No. And I said, well, then how do you fix this? Tell me your plan. So that is like you empower them to make that decision. This is your life. Make a decision. And all this. But even elementary, you ask them about, like, okay, sweetheart, now what do you want to be? When you leave the elementary, what do you want to do? Well, go to high school, and say, oh, then after that, what happened? And then you tell them to the goals that they have in their lives, and then tell them, connect to what happened. Is this something that's gonna go lead you to where you'll be successful? And if it doesn't, then let's fix it. How do you fix it? See, I would never give them the thing. I'm like, so how would you fix it? What do you see as a solution to this? And I did that all the time. Whatever grade I was disciplining come into my office, I always would ask them, so what is your plan? What do you think is the solution to this? What do you think would be, make you happy and make the other party happy, make your parents happy? What do you think? What would be your plan? So that's something that you might want to remember. Okay. How do you discipline? Marco, how do you discipline in your school? When a child misbehave, how did you do it?
Actually, I call it the attention, Doc Merlina, and I will just talk to him face to face, one on one in a room, or I will bring it to the guidance.
Okay. You
That's
do
how
it
I
straight
deal
even with
with
the
those
first
students.
offense, though? Do you do it in the first offense, or do you give them a verbal warning? In America, we do a lot of verbal warning
Yeah.
at first. Just don't do it all the time, and then
Yeah.
nobody listens to you anymore. So you don't have
Yeah,
a
like
verbal
that
warning?
also.
Okay. So when you answer a
I
question, yeah,
verbal.
yeah. When you answer a question in any interviews here, be sure you say, yeah, I've always had done a verbal warning, but I believe that verbal warning all the time without any, anything that would happen to them is not going to be effective. They're going to say, she's just going to keep warning me. So nothing will happen. So I'll just continue my behavior.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's why I call them follow
Correct.
up and follow through. You're going to follow up. You want to make sure that this child will know that you're paying attention to this. I have this child that I remember that this child was so bad that the other teachers were warning me like, oh my gosh, Merlina, you're going to have a nightmare year because this child and the two children that were supposed to be the nightmare of the grade before were both in my school. And I was joking to my principal. I'm like, Suma, you must really hate me, right, David? He said, why? Because you gave me both so and so and so and so. And he said, oh, Merlina, it's not a punishment. It's just because I know you'll do well with them. And I did okay with them because they were coming in my classroom thinking they're going to be bullies. But then I made them like a positive leader in the classroom. So I was, in my classroom, it's a democratic classroom. They run for office. They wrote their speeches. They say the speech and they have to have, I said, in real life, you have to be nice. You have to be kind to people for them to vote you. The same thing here. You're going to have to be nice. You're going to have to be kind. You're going to have to do things for your classmates in order for them to support you and all this. So they they were trying to be nice, but they want to be leaders. Now, one was the president, one was the vice president. And so I said, if you're going to have the power, use it for the good, and all this. But you just do these things too. If they like you as a teacher, they're going to do anything for you. And that's where the knowledge of students come in, that oh my gosh, my teacher loves me. My teacher loves me like she does Jet and Stephanie, like she does her own children. So I know that I'll be safe in that classroom. You should have them feel that way, that you're warm and you care. So if they didn't do well, this particular child, I'm like, if I start doing my ears like this, that means it's for you, warning for you. I don't have to say anything. I'm just going to do this. Okay. And then the left side, I'm like, okay, this is your one. If I start doing this as if my left ear is itching, that's for you. Watch out. You're in trouble. If you don't stop and I'm doing this, you're in trouble. And they're the only ones that knew what that symbol means. I had a third person that year. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm just going to, do my chin like this, and then that's for you. So those three kids, they did not have any clue that any of those mean what to them, because I had three, call them stinkers here. We don't call stinkers on your interview. They're misbehaved kids. They were just wanting attention. They're attention seeker kids. So I learned that somewhere in some workshop. So that's a good thing to do, is like have this little conversation with them, and they love that. You know why? Because they think, oh my gosh, I have this little thing that I do that my teacher doesn't do with anybody else. Like, okay, she just, scratch her ear. That's for you. This ear or the chin. And the three kids right there that you had warned without embarrassing them, without writing their names, nothing. And then before we line up for lunch, I'm like, I didn't have to scratch my chin today. Yay, good job. I didn't scratch my ear today, my right ear today. Awesome job. So I would whisper to them like that. I'm like, keep it up. Keep it up. I don't want to be scratching any ear today, okay? So I would just like joke like that with them, and they loved it. I mean, oh my God, this particular student that was supposed to be the nightmare of my year was one of my best students. Turned out this child was actually smart. Never showed it in the grade, the 2-3 grades before. They just thought of him as a big bully. And in my classroom, he shone because he was shining, because we did research every month, and it's based on their interest. So he was so big on certain, I think it was the thing about liking airplanes. And I think we did that, the topic about airplanes, and he got so into it that he wanted to know more about airplanes. So my husband just happened to be a pilot, and we had our own plane. So he was like, okay, when you do this, so many days of no ear itching, then you get to have Mr. McCullough come in and show you some pre-checks before we fly. If you do this for a month, then you get to go visit our airplane in the airport. If you do this for 2 months, then your mother and you can come and see if she wants to ride. It has to have her permission and all that. So he was able to do all that. And then I ran out of things to do. So I'm like, okay, so he loves my child Jet. And I said, you can come visit. You can even have us spend the night in an extra bedroom with your mother. I always invite her mom too. I'm like, because you don't want to be in that situation where you have a child and they will say things like, oh, you're being abused when you're not, for example. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. That's why you don't have a child in your classroom by yourself only. I always like if they earn the lunch with me reward, I always add them to pick a buddy, have a buddy to eat with me. And I bring the dessert. So we would eat the cafeteria food and all that. And I will bring dessert. I'll bring extra stuff there, dessert or ice cream or whatever in order for them to have it with me. So that's something that you can, but be careful about that, okay? And so in this particular, because remember, it's a small town, they know us. And we had a swimming pool, and that's another thing that they earned too. On Fridays, I had a swimming party with the Girl Scout. I was a Girl Scout leader. I had 18 girls with my daughter. So I said, you can join the Girl Scout troop in their swimming thing. And they love that too. Boys and girls, they'd come in there, and I would have the parents bring hot dog. I had a big pool. And so they had a hot dog and some hamburger meat. I would just assign people to bring in something. And then we had this big party every Friday. So that's something that some of my students could get in and be a part of. And so it became like a community. It became like, oh, I'm a part of this big family. It's a family, a circle of, trust here that my teacher had formed. And that's something that you should do. You don't have to spend money to do it either, So it's just that kindness thing. And when you model that, you're always kind to your students, they also will be so kind to their classmates. But if you're mean to them, like, hey, you just scream at them and be mean to them, they'll also be mean to their classmates. And that's why as an administrator, when I observe a teacher and the students are being mean to each other, and the teacher did not do anything about it, as if it's just a norm in their classroom, as if it's just okay, I have a problem with that. And I would say that to the teacher later in a private conversation. I would say, you know what? I noticed that so-and-so did this and so did that. And I didn't notice you do anything. So tell me more. Tell me about that. What's going on? And so they would, oh, they're always having these problems or whatever. And the way that she would say it, or he would say it, it's so negative. And I could see, so I would be very frank. I was a very frank teacher, administrator. I would say, well, that we model those behavior, right? I mean, what kind of relationship do you have with your students? How do you get to know them? Like when I was teaching, I always knew my student. The first month was first 3 weeks anyway of school. I really focused on getting to know my kids. I was teaching the content, but I was focused. My unit was all about about the kids. So we did. They did acrostic poem with their name, Merlina, M for whatever. I can't even think now. But anyway, so adjectives about that, or nouns that spells your name. So, or I am poem. There's a lot of things that you can do where they share. I think I've shared it before. And by the way, I did this in my last workshop with teachers. So I got this big paper clips and I passed it around. I said, okay, I want you to pick between 3 to 5 paper clips. I will tell you why and why the meaning of it. So they start picking up. Some of them were picking 5. And then I said, okay, after everybody had picked, I said, okay, you have to tell me that many things about yourself. If you pick 3, you have to tell me 3 things about yourself. That's why I put the minimum, so they can tell me at least 3 things about themselves. And I said things like, you have already taught so many years together, so you have to be 3 things that your peer did not know about you. Oh, I did not know that you collect this. I didn't know that you have traveled to this place. I did not know that you had this problem with whatever, they have idiosyncrasy. Like, I don't walk in sidewalks. I have to do, I don't do cracks in the sidewalk. I have to do every other. I mean, they have so many different idiosyncrasies that some OCD folks have it. And it's funny. So we were laughing about it, but these are so fun for the kids. They love that. And so you can do that. And this is about knowing. And I always model that. I said, okay, I'm going to pick 5, okay? And I will model this like, okay, do you know that I traveled to Saudi Arabia? I stayed for 16 days there. I did, consulting work there. I loved it. I would give them a little thing. And then I said, oh, I also went to the Dominican Republic. They sent me there. And, I went to international students and international teacher and international students there. And you know what I learned there is that the parents of these high school kids or these junior high kids would come into school at lunch and they would spoon feed their child. These are high school kids. And it was okay. And this is what's accepted in their culture. That was really neat. That was really cool, I thought. And I would share just different things about me so that when they shared about them, they were not shy. I've already taken the risk. I already shared with them that this is what we do, but I model that. So when I ask them to write something, okay, let's have a quick write and tell me about what you learned from the 10 or 15 minutes that we talked about this. So I take their notebooks. Everybody had a notebook. I asked the principal, do you have a notebook that everybody can have? And so when they are writing for 5 minutes, I set the timer. I was also writing for 5 minutes. And then when it's sharing time, I shared mine. So that's what you should do. Do an exemplar. Don't always do what you do, do what you say, not just do what I do. Don't just do what I say, but also do what I do. That's one thing that you should remember in your classroom. So if you want kindness, show kindness. Okay. So if you want them to write long, model that you wrote long. I said, notice that when I wrote, I started with a transition. I said next. I said furthermore. I said moreover. Did you see that? All that. So I would so then when they share, I'm like, so I heard 3 transitions. Did you all hear 3 transitions? Depending on my focus for the day. So if my focus was about transitions, I would make a big deal out of it during sharing time. And then if my focus was about capitalization, I'm like, oh, let me see it. Let me see your notebook. And I'm saying, gosh, every one of those beginnings are all capitalized. The names of people are all capitalized. Wow, let's give everybody a round of applause. You validate them, you cheer them on, but they get to share something about themselves. That's the kind of classroom you should have. And that's why in my workshops, the teachers experience what I did as a teacher to students. They experience it because I did exactly what I was doing. I always modeled it. I did that when I did my workshop. So they would come out there saying, I just loved the day. It was my most favorite PD because I've never been in one where we're actually standing up or dancing. We were doing, I did what's it tableau. Let's do a tableau of what you did this summer. A tableau is frozen action in time, frozen moment in time. So if you're this summer, you're gonna be doing like this. So everybody will just do that, no action. Everybody will do that, and then I say freeze, and everybody would freeze what their actions are, and then we have to guess, what do you think? Okay, action, and they would do their action like, okay, everybody, let's guess, what do you think this person is doing this summer? Swimming. And I'm like, okay, good. So is that swimming? Is that correct? A bunch of the teachers are saying this. And I said they're reading the books that they could not read it during the year, but they're reading their favorite books. A bunch of them were just relaxing or, just a different action that they did. You do that with your students too. What did you do last summer? Your favorite thing that you did last summer. And then you do a tableau and you say, okay, everybody, let's do that. Let's do what we did this summer. And I was doing that. And when I say freeze, you're going to freeze. And then I'm going to point to one person. And then we're going to focus on that one person and guess what that person was her favorite. Okay. And it's so fun. They just really think that's funny. Okay. So that's tableau. You can do that even in history. When you do in history, the story in the history. Okay, let's act out, this is what happened in the war. So you'll be the general. What would the general be doing? You're the soldier. What would you be doing? And then a frozen moment in time is that they're going to freeze and you're going to take a picture of it. It's like a live photo of that scene. Okay, so you can do that with history. You can do that with anything, with stories. English teachers, if you do anything with stories and you want to act out a scene, have them to act out a scene. I call a group. They're so used in my classroom to do role play. So I was like, oh, team 1, come on up. I want you to do a situation here. They always know that you have to have a storyteller to set up. Okay, in this situation, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, or I would have, if you have like a little sentence strip or just a piece of paper and you put the role name in there on marker and they put it as a headband here, as tape, and then they know what their role is and they start acting it out. My kids were so good at it because they did it all year long. I taught them that in month 1. So if you do something like that, it's an active classroom. They're never sitting down, and that's why they don't miss it. I have to send kids home because they have fever. They're not supposed to come because they could be contagious if they have a fever. They don't want to, because they don't want to miss what are the fun things we're going to do, because they never know what happens in a day, because it's going to be different on what we're teaching. Whatever I was teaching science, okay, let's move like a waves. How would this move? This waves do this way. Okay, this is how we should move. Okay, these molecules are moving you slow, or so I want you to be molecules. I want you to be moving. So everybody get up and they're moving, and I would say freeze, and then they're like, okay, tell me about what we learn here, and all that. So it's not just about the action; it's about the learning too. So you freeze somebody, and you say, and then to get them unfrozen, I say, okay, thaw out. Thaw out is the word like, okay, now you can unfreeze now. You can say unfreeze. I would just say thaw out. So they know they can thaw. The teachers were so funny though in my workshop, and they're like, freeze. Using it like, oh my gosh, it worked with adults too. And you just freeze them. I use it a lot when we were doing some project or some work, and I see a lot of problems. Same thing. That means I did not do a good job of explaining the process, the steps, because a good practice is to write them. If there are more than 3 steps, write them on the board. Step 1, 2, 3, 4. Write them on the board, very visual, so they can see what they're gonna do next, right? If I didn't do that and I just told them verbally, and they forgot, then everybody's asking the same question. So I would just say, freeze, everybody freeze. And then I would explain to them, okay, everybody's having these problems. You've been asking me the same question. So I want to explain this to everybody. And then after I would explain, then I would say, okay, throw out. And then I would call someone. So what did I say? I would call a girl and a boy to tell me what I just said. So I will know that they really got it. The audience heard it again with another student, and the audience heard it again from another student. And so anyway, you can do something like that if there's really confusion. But at the same time, I'm also reflecting. I'm saying, okay, Merlina, the next time you do this, you're gonna have to explain it more or write it down. Because obviously I didn't do a very good job of explaining, because why did my kids, or my participants were having problems on what step to do next. Okay, so remember, our brain can only handle, as adults, 5 to 6 chunk of information, 5 or 6 steps, and so less for some of us, because forgetful me, I'll forget things all the time. And for kids that are little, that's 1 or 2 or 3 things that 3 things will be too much for kindergarten. So if you ask them to do 3 things at the same time, they'll remember the first one, but they may not remember the second, the third, or they'll remember the third one, but not the first and the second one. So it's always a good practice to write those things on the board. You see, I was watching one of my old videos of my students before I also have videos. And in my board in the background, there's step 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, I did that. I forgot I did that, because I always did that. I always want to show that. And what happened was, I remember doing I would just do this, like boxes there, blank, and I would do the task, right? So we have 4 things to do this morning. You have to do the journal for the 5-minute thing. And then the next one is this one. And the next one is this one, next one. So if you're already done with step 1, I want you to put your number right beside that box. So that, oh my gosh, number 5, awesome. You're already on step 3. Awesome. Number 2, oh my goodness, you're nearly done. And so so they know, they're like, oh my gosh, you get out of the seat. They're going to have to write their number. They're done with step 1. And so I could just count them, how many people. Okay, looks like all 14 of you are done with this one. So I could erase that now and go to the, so I know exactly if I'm doing something that had to be done in sequence like that. That's what I did. And it seems to motivate them. They're like, especially you kids that are ADD kids that could not focus, it really helps them to know what the next steps are. And also they're always in groups of 4. And there's always a leader for the day. And what you did with the leader was your birthday. So the January birthday might be the leader for Monday. The next birthday in that group will be April. Well, the April will be on Tuesday. They always know, or sometimes ABC order of their names would be perfect. But I did a birthday once because I want them to know when everybody's birthday was. Yeah, okay. And you can also have them like, when you line them up like, okay, those with blue shirt today, line up first, or whatever. It's like, but you have to walk. You cannot be running in and be the first one, but all the blue next. Okay, all the green next, whatever. Or I would say, you know what, group 1, you were the quietest today. So I'm going to want you to line up first. Group 5, I'm very disappointed. You the loudest today. You're going to be in the end. Sorry. You're going to be at the end. And if they're talking right there in front, I move them to the back. They don't like to be in the back for some reason. lining up for a recess or for lunch, they want to be first. So punishing them means that you put them in the back. Okay, in the classroom, punishing them means putting them in the front. Especially high school kids, they do not want to be sitting in the front. So if you put them in the front, they think you're punishing them. Okay, because nobody wants to sit in the front. But I always sit in the front because you know why in America? I'm always the shortest. I could not see over people's backs. So I always sit myself in any workshop in the front. So I usually get to speak with the speaker or whatever because I'm in the front. Okay, but in America, high school kids, they want to be in the back. Okay. And so, hey, Ali, you're here. So what's new, Ali? Ali, what I said, did it remember anything hi, anything you do in your classroom? I like that shirt again. Another shirt. Nice color. That's the school color of my school. It's gold and black. Anyway, so and that's one thing you could do in your classroom too. You admire colors of shirts, you admire colors of whatever. I love it, especially when I taught at the inner city, where my students were mostly African Americans and they have beautiful hair, braided hair. I would say things like, oh my God, that looks so beautiful. How many hours did it take? 12 hours. And I said, oh my God, what were you doing for 12 hours? I hope you were reading a book. That's a piece of conversation that happens. They love their hair. And I'm very authentic about it because I'm really curious. Because I said, girl, you got the patience of, that I don't have, all that. Because something that they like shoes, new shoes. Love your new shoes. Love the color too, and all this, but not about their face, not about themselves, like, how pretty they are. Don't do that. But their clothes, something they notice, the earrings, especially for girls. Oh my goodness, love the earrings, especially the really long one. Like, I can't get away with that, but you can, high school kids, because they would have these huge earrings like this, heavy. And I'm like, I just wish I could get away with that. I can't. I've tried. But good on you. So things like that in the classroom, in the front of the room, when you should always wait for them outside your classroom to welcome them. So that's when I would say things like that. I would notice things like that. I'm like, you changed your hair, didn't you? You had a haircut, didn't you? And they love that when you notice things like that about them, or they change something, about their hair or anything like that. You notice it, they love it. And they'll notice about you too. Dr. McCullough or Miss McCullough, you got your haircut, yesterday, right? And I said, yes, I did. It's different today. You know where I go? I go because it's a small town. I go to this shop because she's really good, whatever. I would share things like that. Just my thoughts. I would really, and it's so funny because when we did our commercial, when I have them to do the persuasive speech or whatever, I have them to make a commercial. And I encourage them to make commercial of places in town. Okay. So of the businesses in town. And of course, one of the business was mine. I had the Merlina's designer outlet. So I had 3 people making everybody likes Merlina's, something they would come up with stuff like that, about commercial of my store. And I said, guys, I didn't mean for you to do that, but I would always share the local things that I got from the local places, because I always believe that you should support your own community. And I say that, I'm like, you should, before you shop somewhere else, try to see if it's in town, because I think it's so important that you support our community here in Salem, because we have bigger city. That's where people, would shop. But now with the online thing, we could do Amazon. And in our store now, that's equivalent to Gaisano, the local store, the Walmart. You could go online and do the things, the order that what you want, and they will prepare it for you, and you just pick it up, pick it up. Oh, you already pay online, and then you just pick it up. It's ready for you. So you'll see all these people just collecting the groceries that people ordered online. I've never done that, but I have friends that do it all the time. I just felt like, well, that's part of the fun of shopping, is to go down to the aisle and looking for it. So that I don't want them to take the fun away from me, because I would stay there 2 or 3 hours just looking around, see what's new. And it's like, visiting with folks. I'm always seeing my former students, the parents or grandparents of my students. I would talk to them, and my husband would like, you just came to the store for like 5 minutes, but then it took 2 hours later, you're back. And so I didn't buy any meat, so it did not go bad or anything. And I was planning him like, If I have meat, I do it at the end, right before I check out. Because if I have that in my cart and I'm talking to folks, it might go bad. so, so you have to plan ahead. But anyway, so all this to say, that's life in America, in a small town America. So a bunch of you are coming to rural part of the United States, not the urban, not the big city. So if you go to a small town like mine and the school might have only 200-300 people in the whole building, that's the life that you'll know. They'll know you. They'll know the international teachers there. Okay. The sad thing about America right now is there are some of the folks are hating some of the immigrants. And some people are immigrant haters because they think that you're illegal if they don't know you. They just judge like, oh, yeah, she might be from this country and she might be illegal. And so a lot of times when I go to that place in an urban area, big city where they don't know me, and they would act like so negative towards me as if, I'm a bad person, I would always pull the teacher card. I'm like, I always tell my students or whatever, I would mention that. So that, oh, you're a teacher. And I was like, yeah, I'm a teacher. I'm a retired teacher, whatever. So when you pull that teacher card, they'll know I'm not illegal. I'm a teacher, and all that because, I would joke about that to I joke about that with the teachers lately that I said that, when you get stopped by a cop, they also are suspicious that, you might be illegal, so I would pull that. I'm like, oh, sir, officer, as a retired educator, as a retired administrator, you'd think I should know better. I should have paid attention to my speed. I'm so sorry, and all that. And when you're nice like that and you say sorry, a lot of times they'll just give you a warning. We'll just give you a warning. So don't do it again. Or sometime a written warning. You better not do this for so many days or else it will become an actual ticket. I only had one written warning and it never did anything. So it did not turn out into a ticket. But that's something that you also need to remember in America. You watch how people react towards you, because sometimes when it's a negative reaction, it might be because they think you might be hiding from the ICE, the immigration police. So I always read people's faces and how they act towards me. Just even like lining up in a restaurant or whatever. And they're like, like this or that, not very nice and not very friendly. I'm a person that would always talk to people first. I would always like befriend people. And so I'll just talk to them. It's like, hey, and a good opener is always about something like their outfits or what they're bringing or whatever. It looks, I would just open up with something random like that, but something authentic from my heart, and all this. So then they would start talking to me and they would know that, oh, she's a retired teacher, and all that. And so I would talk about education. I said, sad thing is in America, we have a shortage of teacher here. And that's why, as a retired person, I decided to help international teachers to come here. And they are needed in the areas where we don't even get local teachers to apply. They are so desperate of teachers because nobody applies there. They'd rather go to somewhere else, especially in the rural areas where our young folks are wanting to be in the city so they have more fun. So they're not going to the rural areas. They'd rather go to the city and have fun at night after school. And so that's why they are needing our international teachers. So a lot of times they would agree, say, yeah, you're right. We couldn't get good teachers otherwise. They'll end up with a bunch of substitute, and we don't even have enough of that. So which means that the quality of teaching is not good. That means their grade report of their school is not good because they don't even have certified teachers. And the school here at least in Arkansas that I know of, when you don't have enough certified teachers teaching the right, for their certification, that alignment, then they will get flagged. That means that's a red mark for them. They have the standards they have to meet. They won't meet that. And so in their grade report card, what helps them is the number of teachers with masters and above. That helps them. The number of teachers with national board certification. That helps them. The graduation rate, how many, your students are graduating, 89%, 90%, whatever, that helps you. So they have this formula of things that they're looking for, what a good school should have. And so that's how they would do the report card, So if you have a lot of your classes not taught by certified or highly qualified, Aris was mentioning highly qualified teachers, that's called HQT here. Now, HQT means that you've met all the requirements. Okay, so for example, as a national board certified teacher, as an NBCT, I'm already automatically HQT because you have already met the highest standard is national board. So I could teach at 31 or close to 40 states without even doing any, I mean, just because of my national board, I would just show them my national board thing and it translates to HQT. So that's very powerful. And so anyway, so those that are on H-1B visa and you end up staying in America, I would encourage you to do national board certification because they now give $10,000 extra on top of your pay just because you have it. So 10,000 a year, okay? For the Philippines, that's more than $500,000 peso just because you have your national board certified certification. So that's very hard to do. You have to videotape yourself and you have to critique yourself and you have to send some student work and critique that work and what are the comments you did and why and all that. So there's a lot of things in it. Like I think back then in 2001, I think 25% were passing the first year. And so not very many percent were passing, but then it gets better as the years go on. So when my sister and I passed the first year, we started helping others. We did support groups where we had people come in and shared with them our experiences. And I felt like I learned more from helping them and seeing, they're showing me the report that they got. What are the comments, the feedback? So I learned more about learning from them because I was helping them to analyze their work to know, okay, so this is what it should be. I felt like I learned more because it was more of my second or third time through them. Because I just did it the first time. I didn't really know. I don't have the feedback that they have. And so then I would always share when we do workshop. My sister and I would do workshop on national board every year. So we are called the NBCT Sisters. And so when we did that, I always shared like we learn more from helping others. That's why when you help other teachers here, other teachers in your college, you're also helping yourself. That's the thing with kindness, right? Or generosity. You cannot give it away. Once you give it away, it actually brings you back, give you back something. It gives you back something. Like, that's why when some people would come here or some people would do their national board and become successful at it, they would call me. One of my friend, Rika, from Memphis, I think she's retired now. She called me and she said, Dr. Merlina, I passed my national board certification, and in Memphis, we get $14,000 a year extra. For the Philippines, that's close to 1,000,000 pesos. Okay. And so we are getting, I'm getting that extra thanks to you, because I would talk to her for hours. She would be so frustrated. She said, I'm over here laying down in my ass like this because I was just so frustrated with this process and all that. And I would just I would talk to her like, okay, so tell me what happened, whatever. And I would just like, okay, this is what I would do if I were you. I was like her counselor. So when she passed, she said, okay, tell me what you want. Tell me something that I can give you, I could send you to thank you for all your, helping me. And I said, no, I only have one simple request. That is, what is it? Help somebody else. If you pay it forward and help somebody else, then that kindness can go multiply, because you could also tell that person you're helping them, they help somebody else. Same thing with ITSA, okay? International Teacher Support in America. I'm not charging, but all I ask you is you help others. Okay, so you're already in America, you help somebody else come here. You help somebody else, be kind to them and tell them and teach them and show them our platform and say, hey, you learned something from this one, whatever. Like I think I mentioned Aris a lot, but Aris is still here. Anyway, see, she mentioned that, I watched or was it Marco? Marco, did you watch episode 90? Was it you or was it him?
Yes, Doc.
It was you.
I watched the episode 90,
90?
93.
Yeah. That's funny that we have that many episodes now. This is, by the way, is episode number 101 or 101 now. Anyway, so Ali, what is your update again? What's going on with you? What's going on in your process?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, today is my school graduation. We are having our graduation in our school today.
Okay. How many days?
I've been very busy since morning. We just finished.
Okay, how many days again?
Today, graduation.
Oh, today. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, that's fun.
Yeah,
What do you do? Do
yeah.
you wear, what do you wear something fancy? Do you wear your college graduation
They
gown?
wear something fancy, and the teacher, they have their cap and their
Yeah.
graduation gown on, and we
Oh,
had a very colorful celebration for them.
oh
Yes,
wow, that's so
yes.
neat. Do you have like a
I'm
big
happy
party?
I was able to do that.
A big party? A big
Yeah, a
party for
big
them?
party. I think
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, they're having that outside the school environment. They'll be doing that somewhere outside the school environment.
Yeah. But
So,
you're high school, right? You're
okay,
teaching high
so
school.
I teach in a primary session, in the PYP session, but we also have the senior school session.
Okay, got it. So you do party on both. Okay. We party in
Yeah, so we all support. If you have a school, we all collaborate.
okay.
If there's anything happening in school, everyone gather and we all collaborate and work together. It's a
Very
teamwork thing here.
Very good. Very strong school. Yeah. Of course, you're an Ivy League school too, so that's awesome. The
Yeah,
in here in the US, they usually do not have a party. Everybody's doing an individual party. So like when my kids graduated, we're to have a pool party. And they have a bunch of their classmates go and have a party in my house. After prom, they come to my house, after prom. So they were having midnight swim or whatever. And so anyway, but you do an individual party here. You do not do. The only one that I remember that was done by the college, for example, was I was teaching at Arkansas State University, which is my alma mater. That's where I graduated. And I was teaching online, which means I have never met my students. In some of my classes had 500 students from all over, some of them even abroad, that their husband was in the military and they were taking my class, as well, they were in Germany or whatever. And so I have never met them. It's so funny because one year I said, okay, I'm going to attend graduation. So we always wear your graduation gown from your highest degree. My highest degree is doctorate. So I had my doctorate, outfit on. And anyway, so I went to the party for the online students. They were given opportunities like if you fly in here for
nice.
graduation and be there and you get to meet everybody in this big party. So I came in there and it's so funny because I felt like a celebrity. All these people like, oh my God, we get to meet you in person. And they want a picture of you and so on. And anyway, one of my friends were like, yeah, now I know what a rock star, what a rock star feels through Merlina. I'm like, no, I don't. I said, that's really humbling though, that they wanted me to have a picture, their family, like, oh, picture, look at this, look at this. This is Dr. McCullough that I have been, taking class the whole semester or whatever. And some they would take more than one of my classes. There's 4 or 5 classes that I taught. And so they would take more than one of my classes. And they would and the kids would say things like, oh, Sue, you're the one that my mom was watching the video while we are on our way to Florida on vacation. The mother was doing classes and then they were going on vacation and they were listening to me. And one day, this is the funniest one. We were in Little Rock, right? We were in Little Rock. I was attending some workshop. I was actually giving a workshop. I always do that on the reading organization every October, November. I was one of the speakers. I was eating in the restaurant and I was excited, talking, whatever. And this next door table was like looking like just listening to me, like keep doing this, like just really trying to. I said, what is this person doing? Trying to eavesdrop, And finally she said, ma'am, I don't want to eavesdrop really, but I just want to make sure that it's you. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, are you Dr. Merlina McCullough? And I'm like, yes. I said, well, I was one of your online students, but I was listening to your voice and it just sounds like you. I just have to acknowledge that if it's really you. And whoever was with me, like, oh my gosh, are you famous or something? I'm like, no, I'm not famous at all. It's just that I taught her. So that was so neat that she was from another state attending, this workshop, and she recognized me through my voice because of all, all the videos of your teaching is videotape in the station, at the university station, and then they put it on the whole thing, on the whole program for the online course. And so then I guess I must be distinctive. My voice was distinctive because I was the only Filipino, staff adjunct or your professor, but that was interesting. But you'll do that with you in your class too, and your school. You go to your community store or whatever, they'll recognize you, Mr. Ali, or however you want to be called. They will know that, Mr. Marco or Miss Carmel, Miss Rama. How do you want to be called usually here? Do you go Mr., Mrs., and then last name or first name? What do you do? What do you do?
I just go with my first name.
Your first name. So how do you students call you?
Yes.
How do you students call you?
You just call me Mr. Or can call you with your first letter. They can call you Mr. A, whatever, Mr. M, Mr. O.
Oh, yeah, okay. We do that too now here in the US because they could not say our last name usually. So like
You can't
mine
say your
is they
last
could not
name.
say McCullough, the kids were not able to do that. So I would say just call me Dr. M. So wherever I go, like in
Dr. M.
Brinkley, I'm Dr. M. Yeah, Dr. M is here, because there's a Mrs. M, so they'll know which one is which. But Miss Maria is
Yes.
Miss I, Incorporado. So that's Miss
Okay.
I, and Miss
Okay.
Q is Christine. So they would so they would do that. So that's something that you need to also remember when you get here. If they struggle
Yes,
with your
yes,
name
yes,
because it's
yes.
hard, just tell them
So for
the
them
beginning
to
of your
know.
last name. So Giselle,
Okay.
what's your last name, Giselle?
Doc.
Oloye.
Masias, Doc.
Okay, so you're Mrs. M. You're gonna be Mrs. M. At least I'm Dr. M. If you're in the same school, they'll know who's who.
My
Okay.
students call me Ma'am Betsy, Doc, because I'm Betsy in everyone here. That's my
Okay.
nickname.
I gotcha. Okay, you can do that too because in my first day of school, when I call the roll, I always ask my students, guys, if you want to be called something, another name, let me know and I'll mark it down here. And I put in parentheses next to their name that this is what they want to call. For example, my nickname is Ellen. So in my lot of my classes, I would say I prefer Ellen instead of Merlina. I always said that because all my life in the Philippines for 19 years, I was always Ellen until I married my husband and he doesn't like Ellen because it sounds too American and he wants a Filipino name. I love Merlina the best. I'm like, okay, guess I'll be Merlina here. The only thing is my connotation of Merlina is something when my mom and dad would call me all my full name, I'm about to get a spanking or I'm about to get in trouble. So that's really not a positive thing for me. Now I'm used to it. 38 years later, I'm used to it. But at first it was really like, why are you calling me like you're about to spank me? But that's something, that we do with our kids sometimes is call them with their whole full name because they're in trouble. And so anyway, so yeah, it's important for you to share what you want to be called and also ask your students, how do you want to be referred to? And please tell me if I misspelled or if I mispronounce your name. Please correct me. Feel free to correct me, not rudely, but more respectfully. Just say, raise your hand and tell me, I want you to raise your hand and tell me again how to say it if I mispronounce it. Because I noticed a bunch of our fellow international teachers, they mispronounce, and I would just like cringe every time a teacher would mispronounce a word. And I look at the student, and the student would like, he would make this face, and I'm like, so I would talk to the teacher after, and I would say, "Do you know that you mispronounced so and so, and you did that 3 times today?" And this kid's face was like changing every time. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I said, "Oh, I want you to practice with me." Practice with me how to say this, and they practice with me. And so then I'll ask them later, so did you finally get that name right? I said, yes, I did, thank you. Or mispronouncing a word. Angles, like angles or angles, angles, or some little things like that we do in the Philippines because that's how we pronounce it in our country. And we pronounce it here and it sounds different because it's not how we pronounce it here. Like one of them is an educator. It's not educator, educator. Yeah, yeah, educator. And then colleague, a colleague. No, it's a colleague. Colleague. That's a very common mistake. So English, Ali, what is the most mispronounced word for you from Africa to English? Is there something that's mispronounced from your culture?
I think, like a chocolate. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Chocolate,
We
yeah.
call chocolate a lot.
Chocolate, yeah, okay. So,
Restaurant. We call restaurants, we call it food, restaurants.
okay. In ours, it's so funny in the Philippines, Ali, we would say, where's your CR? Ali, if I ask you, where's my CR? What do you think about that? What am I asking you? Ali, where's my CR? Where's the
Nothing comes to
CR?
mind.
Huh? What does that mean to you?
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay, Filipino
Nothing comes to
teachers,
mind.
tell Ali what CR means. Somebody, Carmelita, tell Ali.
It's a comfort room.
The bathroom. They're looking at
Yeah,
Oh,
bathroom.
comfort room. So
okay.
if a Filipino
Yeah.
would ask you, Ali, where's the CR? They want the comfort room, which is the bathroom. And there's a difference, by
Okay.
the way, guys. Everybody got folks. There's a difference between bathroom. Bathroom is something in the home. Okay. Restroom is
Okay.
what you call something in public. So if you don't go in somebody's home and say, where's the
Okay.
restroom? It's not a public thing. You only say restroom is if in the
Mhm.
public.
Okay.
But in the inside the house,
Okay.
you want to say where is
Bathroom.
their bathroom? Okay,
Okay.
restroom
Okay.
when it's outside in a public. Okay, but I never knew the
We
difference.
have some students that call it washroom. What about people that
Washroom.
call it washroom?
They would not know that either. They would not know that. What washroom?
I have
Washroom
some
would be
Canadians, I've taught some Canadian students in the past. Some Canadian students in my school, they call it washroom all the time.
okay, and that's a bathroom. But here they could say, okay, you're looking for the laundromat, the laundry room. You know, they might think that's a laundry room because that's where you wash. Okay. And by the way, here,
Okay.
for international teachers, some apartments do not come with washer and dryer. So you may come, that's one thing that you need to ask when you're looking for apartments, look for washer and dryer.
Okay.
Okay. Because it might cost a little extra, but it's worth the time because
Okay.
you have to pay quarters, you have to pay a lot of money to get your laundry done. And some of the places might not be safe. You know, it might not be safe where the
Okay.
laundry, the laundromat is. We own a laundromat, but because it's a small town, it's safe. You know, we had a camera full time, 24 hours in our laundromat. We see what people are doing there, but not every laundromat in the whole nation will be safe. So if I were you, I would choose an apartment that has either one in your apartment or one in that community complex. There might be a common one that everybody uses, but the best one is it's your own apartment.
Okay.
And if you have your own, that's better, because that way you don't have to go to the public to get, it's a pain. You have to get your dirty clothes, put it in a hamper thing, and then you have to go to the public place. Okay, you have to pay for the washer and you have to pay for the dryer. It gets expensive for you. Lots of quarters. When we owned the laundromat, we had this big old, this gallon milk, and my husband would make the top bigger, and we'd fill that up with quarter. That's $200. And we'd pick up every day. We would pick up the quarters from the laundromat, and then we also owned a car wash, so both of them.
Okay.
So we had a lot of quarters, but it will cost you a lot of quarters if you do not have a washer and dryer. That's in the Philippines, Ali. We have people that
Okay.
do that laundry for cheap. You pay somebody. How much is it now? Anybody can tell me how much is, like, if you pay about la bandera for a day? How much is it now? Have you heard?
Here in our place, Doc, in
Uh-huh.
Cebu, it would cost you 500 pesos to 700 pesos. That's for a
Gosh,
day.
from $12 to $14. That's cheap. That's only an hour work here in America,
Yes.
guys. Yeah. And
In
that's
our
all
place,
day.
Doc,
They're washing your clothes all day. Everything you want washed, like, your comforter, your blankets and all that, everything. And they do that all day long for about, $10, $12. So how about in your area, Ali? Do you have anybody like that who would do that for a living, that they would wash people's clothes?
Yes, there are locals that deal with that too, but it's not that popular where I am presently.
Oh,
We
okay.
normally have people, we have some laundry service, kind of more advanced. They don't do everything. You have to bring it to them. You take
Oh,
your dirty
oh
clothes to
yeah,
them.
it's a laundry
They don't
place
come
now.
to you.
Okay, yeah, you're more modern. But do you not have in rural areas? They should have people still do that for a living, where they
Yes,
go.
of course, we have that in rural areas.
Okay.
Yes, because I live in the city actually.
Oh,
So
you live in the city, that's why. So
that's
in the rural
yeah.
areas, do you know how much they charged? How much they charge there? We're talking about culture, so this is still on top, guys.
Okay.
Do you
It
know?
depends. Some might just, even some, I've had, when I went to my granny place, there's a woman that just come. She does everything
And
from
how much do you pay her?
washing to cleaning,
Uh-huh.
and you just give anything that comes to your mind. They don't have a price.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are so poor, they don't have a price.
So, like, how much would your grandma give her?
They are so poor, they don't have a price. You just maybe like 5,000 naira, that should be like five, maybe you can say $7. per
Wow.
day, maybe $5 to $7.
Wow. They're even cheaper there, Ali. You're like half
It
as
is that
much as the
low, yeah.
Philippines. Wow. So you're in
They're
Nigeria,
very cheap
right?
for you.
Nigeria is cheap then. Okay,
Sure.
good. Good to know.
Yes, I'm in Nigeria. Yes, yes, yes.
Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria is
Sure.
really cheap. And your country, though, no, the sad thing, Ali, that there's a lot of some people are based in your country that are doing some scamming. So when they hear the word Nigeria, some people have really negative
Scamming a lot,
connotation. How do
a
you know?
lot.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
A
I've
lot of
gotten that
bad
a lot,
people.
a lot.
Huh?
We are just trying to rewrite the narrative. We are trying to change the story, you know.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea
We are
because
changing the
people,
story one person at a time.
yeah, because some people they have this already a judgment. They don't even know you, and they already oh, you're from Nigeria, and you must be a scammer. That's so sad. One of my very best friends is a medical doctor. She's from Nigeria, but she studied in England, and she's been in America for 40 years, possibly more than me. And so I'm 38 years this year, and so yeah, she is that's a sad thing. That's from Nigeria. Just because you're from Nigeria, they think that you're gonna be a scammer, that you're gonna be a bad guy. That's so sad. And in the Philippines, they think that, oh, so this is one thing that really bothered me. For older folk, they would ask me like, so did you work at the base? Which means that did you work at the base, which means at the Olongapo, which means you must be a prostitute. I'm like, that's how you met your husband? That really, oh my God, that bothers me more than anything, because I'm like, excuse me, you don't even know me. And you would ask me that. And that's, that I've never, well, I guess when I first got here, possibly in the 80s, but I've never been asked anymore. But when I do get asked that, that's just the biggest slap on my face. That's awful. Because at one time in the Philippines, I don't know if you remember this history, Ali, that they had military bases in Manila area, which is the capital, and they have a bunch of prostitutes in where the military men were. And that's very known by military folks that this is Olongapo. That means that the connotation is you must have been one of these ladies. I'm like, I've never even been there. I didn't even go to Manila until my trip here, to go catch the international flight. But when somebody just judges you because of your country, and that's something that we need to talk about here, because our audience here is not just Filipinos, not just Africans, it's actually all over the world. And some of our countries are being judged just
Yes.
because that's the country, that some bad folks might be known for, and they judge you. They think that although you're a teacher, they don't know that, and they'll think that you are a bad guy, a bad girl. So that really breaks
Mhm.
my heart when that happens. But that's why, reading the nonverbal, doing reading their faces and see, okay, there's a person that likes me, or there's a person that, oh my gosh, cannot stand me, or just stay away sometimes. You just have to, stay away, smile or whatever, just be pleasant looking. But you don't have, because some people would just have hatred in their eyes. I avoid those. I'm not even going to talk to them if they have that hatred looking in their eyes. That's somebody that I don't care to know. As long as they don't hurt you just because of
Okay.
what you look like. That's the only thing. One Filipino guy in New York or somewhere back then, he got hurt just because they thought he was somebody else. He was coming from another country. Not because he was Filipino, but because they thought he came from another country that looks like, we look like the Filipinos look like. And so that's what happened. And so, just I guess, be careful. And so, Ali, where you're going to be
Yes.
teaching, are you going to be in a big school or a small school? You're going to be in the rural or urban?
I've been allocated a school. I'll be working in a community school, not too big.
Okay.
It's a primary school in St. Croix. I'm going to St. Croix. St.
Yeah.
Croix,
Yeah.
yes, on the
St. Croix
Virgin
is a big one,
Islands.
right? It's a big tourist place, actually, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Virgin
It's a
Islands.
big tourist place. Yes,
Yeah, it's a big
yes. It's a
tourist
big
place.
tourist
It's
place.
going to be
Yes.
expensive then to live. Anytime that you live in a place that's a tourist area,
Yes.
they're going to charge a lot, like 2 or
Mhm.
3 times what they would normally.
Yeah,
It's like paying at an airport.
sure.
It's so expensive. So you just be watching for that. Be aware about how much things should be worth, because avoid those tourist areas.
Okay.
If you're local there now, then avoid those tourist areas. Because they're jacking up their price. Go to the areas where there are not much tourists, and
Yes.
that their price would be normal for the area. That's what
Yes.
I would say, right?
Yes.
Same thing in the Philippines,
Yes.
Ali. If
Yes.
you
Yeah.
ever go there, you avoid the places where there's the 5-star hotels, because they're 5-star prices as well. Yeah, so when we last went to the Philippines in 2018, we stayed at J Park, and J Park is one of the best newest hotels in Cebu. That was a resort. It had a water, park in it, and we had the penthouse. So we had the most expensive thing because there were many of us, and we needed at least 3 bedrooms. So we did this, big thing here. We have 3 bedrooms there, so that my husband and my son had one, and my husband son, my bonus son Galen, came. So there were that, and they don't, they want their own place. So I want them to have their own place. So anyway, it was about 200 some dollars, which is really good price because it was the class that they were in. But in the Philippines, you could get something for $5, $10 a day. And you could pay as much as what we paid, $200, $216 a day, I think it was. But the thing is, it had a buffet with it included, and it had I think what they charge is $30 per person for breakfast if you pay for it. But if you're staying there, it's part of it. And there were I think 6 of us or 7 of us.
Okay.
So it's 6 times 30, that's already 180. So then the hotel becomes cheap
Mhm.
because of that free breakfast. That's really nice. Like
Wow.
the
Okay.
biggest buffet I have
Okay.
ever seen. I counted 33 or
Wow.
34
That's
chefs.
nice.
That's how big the thing was, lining up there.
Okay.
They're just standing there,
Wow.
and it's so big. And that's why a bunch of the South Korean tourists would go to that place. But anyway, the lesson here is if you go to the Philippines, for example, and they're going to think that, like some of my friends here, my local friends here with, American friends that are wanting to go to the Philippines, I said, stay away from those places that are tourist area because they're going to charge you a lot. It's like being home here in America. So if you want the local cuisine and the local prices, stay away from that. Go somewhere else. And that's why traveling with a local would help you because I can show you places that are safe
Yes.
and that are clean and that are,
Okay.
yeah, they're good. But if you just go on your own, you could go back to
Mhm.
places that you could be robbed, just like any
Yes.
country, there are going to
Yes.
be bad
Yes.
folks. Yeah. And so same with you,
Mhm.
teachers. You need to go with people that know the place. Find some local, some other colleague there that's friendly to you, and see if you could help them, help pay for the gas and have you take them somewhere. For example, there's no Asian restaurant, Asian grocery store by you, and you have to travel another hour or two to go to the nearest one. Like my nearest one is 45 minutes. Okay, I don't have one in my town. So I have to drive 45 minutes where my sister lives. It's a bigger town. And that's where I buy a Filipino friend open a store, which we're so happy because before we were driving 3 hours to get it. And she opened one and we were so happy because we're growing here. The community is growing. Our local hospital, like in 40 minutes away, that place hired 50 Filipino nurses and they put them in one big apartment. And then they brought their families. So you're talking at least 100 people there in one apartment that they had hired. So the community here is growing so big, the Filipino community. So same thing, Nigeria. Where's the places in America that a bunch of Nigerians are found? Do you know, Ali? Is there a state in the US that the Nigerians are going?
Yes.
Where?
I think we have a lot of Nigerian in Maryland. Maryland
Maryland.
has the highest.
Okay,
Maryland.
Maryland.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of Nigerian.
That makes sense though, because
There's a lot.
Maryland is so close to Washington, D.C. And it's really a nice
Yes.
place. And it's got lots of, the beach and the best seafood. Oh my gosh, they had really good seafood. But it's also going to get so cold, by the way, there. So I guess your
Yes.
Nigerian friends may like the cold. But anyway, if yours will not be as much difference because you are so used to the heat. And
Okay.
the Virgin Islands would be like
So
tropical, right? But it's not going to be as hot
tropical,
as
yes,
Nigeria,
yes.
I don't think. It's not going to be as hot as Nigeria.
Definitely. It's
It's
not
going to
going
be
to be as
better.
hot.
Yeah. But you'll be
It's gonna be
spoiled with
better.
a beach area. How far are you from the beach right now in your place? How far away? How many minutes?
I have beach in Lagos. Lagos is just 2 hours drive from me.
How many?
And I was here last December, but 2 hours drive
Two
from
hours.
where I
Okay.
am presently.
Okay. That's not bad.
2 hours
That's
drive.
not bad. 2 hours, not bad.
I'm very close to Lagos. I live very close to Lagos, Nigeria.
Mm. See, in the Philippines, I'm only 5 minutes to 10 minutes away. So it's I'm pretty close. I'm 10 minutes from the airport even. So when I have a friend right now that's going back to the Philippines, but she doesn't have any more families in the Philippines. So she got adopted when she was little, so she doesn't really know anybody. So I called my brother and I said, "Hey, will you host her? Have her to stay at our place there. We have an upstairs that they go stay at our place and take her around. She just tourist things in the Philippines in Cebu because she wants to go to Cebu. She wants to visit Cebu." And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. We can get you hooked up. You will be in good hands." And Maria's dad over here, I'm putting an ad for him. Maria, Mr. Albert here, he does a business in the Philippines where he does a van where you rent a van and he drives it and for a day and he charges for the day. I don't know how much he charges, but then you can just hire him. And that's what I told Christina. So I said, "Hey, when you go there, we'll contact Maria's dad and you can rent his van for how many days you want. It's cheaper than going for a taxi." And going in a taxi in a place, by the way, guys, for those that are going to be teaching in a city, going in a taxi in some places are not, especially, in some places are not safe. So be careful about that. Okay. In the Philippines, there might be some taxis that have bad drivers that would take you to some places that's not good. So be careful about that too. So that's why I prefer having a van driven by someone I know that we can just tell him, "Hey, today our agenda is we're going to this place, this place, this place." So we do that. So when any of you that's watching this and you're going to Philippines, be careful. Okay, just because just like in any area in any country, there are going to be some bad folks, taking advantage of tourists. And so here, teachers, as you come here, you're going to be like the foreigner, the new folk in that school. So if you're in a small school, you'll be okay. You're not going to have problems at all. But in a bigger school, that might be different. It might not be necessarily safe in some neighborhoods. So you need to always ask your teachers, your colleagues, ask them, "Hey, I need to go buy this. Which one would you go? Okay, which place would be good for me to get this? Or the cheapest place or the best reasonable place, Here in America, there's Walmart. Do you have a I don't think Walmart is outside the US yet, but Walmart is this cheap place. Everybody's shops at Walmart. They're everywhere. Of course, there's a dollar store. Those are the places those are good places to buy things. There's lots of them are made in China. So some of them may not last as long. So you might also want, I think it depends on what you want. Like some people would just want, I just want something, for just a month, a few years. But if you really want, for example, furniture, and if you want something that would last, especially if you have H-1B visa where you are here for a long time, you might want to buy furniture like at a good furniture place instead of a place like where you buy groceries. So you go to this place.
I understand.
Yeah, you understand. You do that. And they deliver. A lot of times they deliver. And that's the problem with some of the international teachers. They come here and they don't have a truck in order to get some big things. So what you can do is ask your administrator, is there someone here with a truck that I could ask to get a dryer, washer, whatever it is that you're buying, bed, to deliver to your place? Because if you ask somebody to deliver, it's going to be very expensive. It's actually cheaper for you to ask a friend, to do that and then just pay for the gas. Pay for their gas, help them, you don't have to spend their own gas to help you out. Always offer that, okay? All right, so anybody have a question for me?
Yes, thank you.
We got into different
Dr. Malina, please, I need to go now. I'll join back. I need to go attend to something.
Happy graduation. Thank you for coming
I'll be
on quick. Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
Let me
Okay,
check
see
on them, and
you
I'll
in
write
2
back.
weeks. Yep,
My friend.
it's the 12th, July 12th. Anyway, okay, so Maria Amelia, you want to talk to me? Or Gina? Giselle, do you have anything to share? Have you had any interviews since we talked? Nobody wants to talk? You turn on your camera. That's a good thing. So is it Maria or Gina or Giselle that's going to talk?
Hey, Doc.
Okay, hi. Hi, Gina.
Actually, I'm listening, Doc, but
Okay.
listening at the same time doing my work in my masteral.
You're
But I
multitasking.
enjoy your experiences, sharing your experiences, and thank you very much. So here is raining.
Raining.
I
Oh
think
my God, I'm so jealous because I want.
typhoon is coming. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's raining now too. And my husband was telling me today, I woke up early because I know I have Zoom. So I woke up early and I was watering my plants, because I have that garden. And he said, it's gonna rain the next 3 days. And I said, yeah, they've said that, but then they lie, because some of that weather report is wrong. So I said, okay, well, it's just be a bonus thing. If it rains and I already watered, it's just be a bonus thing for my plants. But I'm just gonna take care of them right now because some of them, you have really sensitive plants that like dying, they're parched. Like some of my squash were like really turning colors. So I know that's telling me water me, And so that's what I was doing way about 6 o'clock 5:30 in the morning, 5:45. I think that's when I went out already. And it was still a little not quite bright yet. And so anyway, and that's one thing I also want to tell you, teachers, especially from the Philippines, that here in the summer, 9 o'clock at night, you can still see it's still bright. Okay, so it's still 9 o'clock or 8:30 at night. Last night I got out of bingo about 8:45. It was still, I can still see. It's still not dark. Like when I came in, it was after 9. Then I start getting my flashlight. I could still see. It's not completely really dark yet. But then in the winter time, then it starts going where it's very early and it's dark. Okay, so in summer, I think that's how the daylight savings time is was being done, is because you'll have more time in the summer, more sun that way. Okay, so it's kind of nice because, like, for example, I have a party on July 5 and we start at 5, so we could party for 3 or 4 hours and still have the bright, still be bright outside. No need of light. So that's something you want to know. What time is dark? Is it dark in the Philippines now? I don't
It's
remember.
here, Doc, it's already 10:09
Okay,
p.m.
of course, it's been so dark, right? What time was it like starting to
Yeah.
be very dark there? 6 o'clock?
6, I think, yeah, 5 something is a bit darker
Oh, okay.
than, yeah.
Dark already. Yeah. See, that's different here. It's 9 o'clock. It's still gonna be some light. Okay. All right. Let me. Gina, do you have anything to share? Like, have you been applying everywhere? Because I'm gonna talk to Amelia after you.
I'm sorry, Doc.
Do you have anything to report to us, to share with us?
Actually, Doc, last time we talked already with Sir Arnel,
Mm-hmm.
because Sir Arnel was the one who shared the link to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found out that I am already member here, and thank you very much for accepting.
Yeah.
Actually, Doc, I am already starting applying. Then I don't know, but sadly speaking, that I think that US J1 visa is already closed.
Well, they might be working on the October 1 visa, but there should be some spots left still. But last time I talked to Glenn, he had 50 slots. I do not know how much he had given away since then. So a lot of times there's June, July, August, there's still a few left, but not as much as in October 1. It's gonna be a lot of them, new ones. A lot. The new year starts October 1. But the thing is, they could hire you, still give you a JO, but they'll have you do the paperwork, but then the visa might not be available until October. But you can still start the process. Okay, get your FCE, your foreign credential evaluation if you don't have
I
that.
have already the FCE, Doc. I
You
have
had
already the
okay.
FCE.
Okay, good. And
credentials.
you check if the school has TOEFL requirement. So if you have TOEFL requirement, you need to go to ets.org and you type TOEFL, TOEFL, Teachers of English as a Foreign Language. TOEFL, you take that test. In America, we can take it at home or at the testing center. I don't know about in the Philippines, I bet you have to go to a testing center. And then it's about $200 some. But some schools would actually reimburse you. So you need to make sure that you keep your receipt and then ask them, do you reimburse for anything relating to TOEFL or Praxis? And sometimes they would say yes. Okay, not all of them, but some of them would, but they would never do it without a receipt. So keep your receipts.
Is it necessary, Doc, that you are going to get that, or is that necessary for the application?
Not TOEFL, but Praxis will be required at every stage.
Okay,
Praxis. So you would look for your Praxis for the elementary teachers. You have two kinds. We have a Praxis for all the 4 subjects. So you have that Praxis for math, science,
What
social
about high
studies.
school, Doc? Teaching. What about high school teaching special education? I am a teacher in high school, but is there any possibility that I can I can be accepted in the elementary level?
Well, what's your degree in? Do you have a degree in elementary?
No, Doc. I am secondary education, major in language. Then this time I have already finished my certificate of special education and now in my continuing my master's degree in special education.
I think the special education, at least on the licensure now, is K-12. So I think when you get your license, it will say K-12 special ed.
Yeah, I have already my license as a teacher here.
Okay, then you should, if you translate it to, for example, in Arkansas, if it translates it, special ed is K-12. So the school could move you from elementary or high school or back and forth. So you're good if it's special ed, yeah. But if you are a high school teacher, you need to have a high school diploma. If you are regular ed classroom, that you need to have, if you're science, high school, you cannot teach elementary, science, math, I swear, science in high school, you cannot do science elementary because it needs to have an alignment on the level, okay? A lot in the Philippines, I noticed, I always check those resume when you send it to me. I look for the alignment. I see a lot of misalignment that some people would have a degree in high school and they are teaching elementary or vice versa. That's not going to be acceptable here because the visa sponsor is going to not let you. Okay, so if you have an elementary, or in a high school diploma and then teaching at elementary right now, you may want to think about teaching at the high school for at least 2 years because you're supposed to have at least 2 years of experience in your area for the alignment. So I do not know if any of the sponsor will even accept that if you have a misalignment. Okay, so another way out of that is doing what Gina did, getting your master's in special ed, and then you have a K-12, special ed. So yeah. So, but anyway, but I'm talking about what I know is Arkansas, okay? I cannot talk for the other states because I don't know. But for Arkansas, it's K-12, is special ed. Okay? I don't know if it's federal or just a state level.
How about licensing, Doc? Do we need to apply? But the problem is if we apply for our license, we don't know what state we're going to apply because
you can start. That's a good question, Gina. There are 3 states that I have been, telling folks to go ahead and apply at. It's New Mexico. So you go to New Mexico Department of Education and you go to licensure and go to under reciprocity. Okay, look under reciprocity requirements. And then you can also go to the Maryland Department of Education and they do the same thing. And then the last one is the New Mexico Department of Education. So Maryland, New Mexico, and Illinois. I mentioned one twice. Illinois, which is where Chicago is. Illinois Department of Education is spelled ILLINOIS. Illinois, silent S. And so then you apply. I think Maryland had been more common and New Mexico. I don't know about Illinois, but I know one of them made it harder. I don't remember which one. Giselle, do you remember which one made it a little harder now? That's more complicated to get, huh?
I think it's Illinois.
Illinois.
There was that one Illinois and New Mexico. I think it's a fingerprint doc.
New Mexico.
Yeah.
Is it New Mexico that made it harder, Marco?
Yes, sir.
How did they do that, Mike and Hart?
I think they need scan biometric. I think they need to submit it hard copy in the area in the New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Unlike in Illinois, it's so very easy, just submit through email only.
Oh, okay. So which means that yeah. I wonder if it can happen through, so in hard copy you can mail it still though. It's still doable. It still can be mailed, right? Just cannot be scanned digitally, which is easier. Yeah. So, but the fees should be, I don't remember, between $10 to $100. One of them was $10. Now I don't remember which one. Giselle, do you remember which one was $10?
It's Maryland, doc. It's $20. One
$20.
for this. Yeah.
Okay.
That $10 is for the copy that you are going to receive.
Right. And then how long did it take?
The licensing, ma'am?
Huh?
$10 for the licensing?
20. She said 20.
Yes, ma'am.
1,000.
20, ma'am.
What about 1,200 pesos?
Yes.
And
But some
so,
of the fixer here, they require how much? 14,000 for the
oh my
requirement for
gosh,
this.
guys, do not do that. Do not do that. You can do that yourself. I swear. We're teachers. We
DIY.
can read. Yeah. And that's the
Ma'am, I
advantage of
get,
being in a group like this because you will be informed and you're not going to be, they call them gypped, which means you're not going to be cheated money because we're not going to make it the price go up. We're going to tell you how much it should be. You know, somebody's making 7 times, there.
mm,
So they're keeping a lot of money and that's not fair. That's not nice. But anyway,
yes.
but of course that's their living too. That's the way they make their living, I guess. That's their business. So we're not going to criticize their business. But I just want to tell you that you can go directly, okay? So Gina, what else do you have? Good questions, Gina.
Um, what doc? My ano? Actually, doc, I have already my papers, but the problem is in my application, I tried online, but
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it was the one the school who interviewed me requires elementary specializing autism, because I am not.
Okay, so then you
Because
had a
I'm not
misalignment issue.
specializing autism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a misalignment issue. If you scroll down to where I posted, there is a document there, Gina, in the chat. You go to your chat. There's a document there that has all this information about visas and about interviews and all this. Everything here that you need, it's on this document that I have. Okay, so what you need to do is go to that chat and copy and paste it to a new Word document or Google Doc. That way you can access that document. You can also click on it, and then when you get the document open, you can save it. Okay, make a copy.
Can I still see this doc this chat so that I can see it's very hard for me to do this in my cell phone.
It's
So
hard.
can I the in no in the website, no, in our group chat?
Yeah, you can go ask for the group chat. Mike can put it in there. Mike, I'm sure, has already put it in there, but you can always ask. You can also email me at McCulloughMerlina@gmail. Say
Okay.
McCulloughMerlina, McCulloughMerlina@gmail, and I will send it to you. Anything. And
Okay,
you
thank you so
send,
much,
yeah,
doc.
you send me your resume and cover letter. I could also critique it. I could tell you, hey, this is
Okay.
missing. What I see as missing that's common are the 3 references. Guys, you have to have 3 references in the bottom of your resume. You have to have 2 administrators with their email and phone number, and then their title. Make sure you put principal or supervisor or whatever, department head, and then a colleague. So 3. Without that, you will never, 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 ever get an interview. You know why? Because in America, the districts will actually send a survey, like an email survey about you to your references. Before they even tell you about the interview, they're already doing that work. Okay, because I get a lot of those. I fill it out. It's about 10, 12 things about you, how you teach, how you follow, how do you work with colleagues? So, supervision, how do you follow, your supervisors? Things like that about, are you organized, whatever, how knowledgeable are you, all this. And there's like an excellent or good or fair. And then we do that and we submit it. And so until they get those 3, they would not write you down to be interviewed. And that's what I'm saying. If you do not have those references at the bottom of your resume, then you're just waiting for air, nothing. You're waiting for nothing, okay? So be sure that you edit your resume. And I always tell my students here, my college students here, I tell them to don't worry about a picture, but for international teachers, I actually recommend you to put a little picture on top of your resume, left or right top, I don't care, but write it
Can
down.
we have the sample doc? Can we ask for a sample?
Yeah, if you ask for me, if you email me, I'll send you a sample. I'll send you my
Okay,
sample, my
thank
own.
you.
I sent you my own.
Okay,
That way,
okay, doc,
I
thank you
would
very
never
much.
share anybody else's paperwork, but I will share my own. Okay, I share
Thank you, doc.
your things with administrator here. That's when you become a member, like an official member, when I have your resume and cover letter in my file, and you are part of that list that I send to administrators, not just in Arkansas, but all over the states, the different states. So you need to make sure you send that because otherwise you will not be on that list. Okay. And you're in that
Okay,
list
doc.
because you're getting an invitation from me for this Zoom. You're on that list. Okay, those are the ones that's on the list are the ones that's getting the Zoom invitation. So if you're not getting the Zoom invitation, remind me. I have not been put on the official list. You are in the folder, the waiting folder. I have some people right there that
And
I'm
then,
waiting.
Dr. McCullough,
I,
I'm not on the official
Amelia, are
list.
you in the Zoom
Yes.
invitation or no?
I think I received a message once. After that, I've not
I
received
have to
any
check. I
again.
think you may be on this. I have a folder that said put in the official one, but I don't have time right now. It's
Doc,
been
Okay.
hectic.
excuse me, Doc. Me
You're in
too,
the
Doc. I
transition
have
folder.
all the link, Doc, was given by Mr. Arnel. So I have
Okay.
not my invitation yet, but through Sir Arnel.
Okay, so you are. I know, and I know. I got Amelia's all paperwork, Amelia, but I think you are in the latest ones this summer. I have put in a transition folder to do when I
Okay.
have time. So anyway, so if you've
Okay.
not been getting, that's why I decided to put in the ITSA today, so that you will, so you will all get it. Did you get Amelia? How did you get it? You just remembered?
Yes, I went to my chat with you, and then I
You
I
got
got it
that one.
from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But on the Facebook, on our ITSA Facebook, I actually posted this link, but I'm gonna take that
Oh,
off.
okay.
Because I do not want
Okay.
it on for people that are not teachers. So I'm going to
Okay.
take that off after our meeting. But I put down there that, hey, we're meeting right now. So that's what I did for people that may not have the invitation but are watching our Facebook.
Okay.
So what time is it at your place, Amelia?
It
Amelia,
is
what time?
2:24. It's in the afternoon, 2:24 p.m.
It's 9 o'clock
In the
in the
afternoon.
morning here. Yeah, it's
Oh,
9 in the
okay.
morning here. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, it's at 10 o'clock at night in the Philippines. So it's
Oh,
dark. So
okay.
yeah, it is.
Yes.
So what's new with you? Have you gotten any interviews lately? I talked to Ali. I don't know if you were here when I talked to Ali a while ago. She's
Yes, I think, but I've still not gotten any interview yet.
not yet. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to like I told Marco the other day, Marco had a good timing because he emailed me and I just happened to have the same thing what happened, Maria. I had got
Okay.
her resume and it just so happened that somebody was asking with the same qualification as her. So I said, hey, there you
Okay.
go. I forwarded it quickly because I just happened to be away somewhere else with my phone. So I have access only on my phone. So I did that.
Okay.
I did that with Marco. And that's what I thought. I
Thank you,
thought
Doc.
somebody was interviewing him, but somebody else was interviewing him. So that's cool. So I'm
Okay.
hoping, Marco, that you'll end up here soon. So Emilia, I really have high hopes for you, girl. I really think that you're going to be good addition. Have you been applying everywhere, Amelia?
Yes, I told you the other time that I applied to through GEC, Jack.
Okay, but don't just wait for them though. Do your own thing too. Okay, you have to go to
Yes,
www.schoolspring.com. If you
spring.com.
click
Okay.
on this, I'm gonna go. If you click on this document that I put, and you're gonna do the 50 state. Did you put the 50 states, Giselle? The 50 states posting, job posting. Let me see if I can find.
Yes, Doc. It was
Did you?
there, Doc.
Okay, so everybody scroll up and Giselle, look for Giselle's link for the 50 state job postings because Giselle, can you open that document? I want to show them like how that looks like, if you don't mind, since you're the host right now, and share
I
it.
can try if I can share it to my cell phone, Doc. I'm using cell phone as
So
of
you
the
are, so it might
moment.
be harder for you.
Yeah, sure.
Give me the
Yeah.
hosting back. Give me the
Okay, Doc.
hosting back and I will show that to them because I think I still have it open somewhere. Let me find it. I want to show you that this is something that you should do because that would help you get a job quicker.
Okay.
Okay, let me.
Okay, it's done, Doc. You're the host now, Doc.
Okay, thank you. I am let me see, where do I make I need to find the one that said share. Okay, now. Okay, you can see all my things I'm working on. Hang on, let me move it over. Oh, that's not it. That's not. I was doing a different workshop I was working on. Let me see the important documents right here. So if you see this, let me get this bigger, okay? Let me see. I have make this bigger so you can see. Okay, so can you see it now better? So here's the document. It would look like important links from I call that important links document, and you will see my picture there for US applicants. And you even have a picture. Do you know that you even have an introduction about me right here on the link? If you
Yes.
get on top here, there's a link there about me, if you want to know more about me. And
Okay.
so then
Okay.
submit your resume preparation. There's some things there. I even told you what I just said earlier, but to administrators, one colleague. Do professional details only. Don't tell us how much you weigh. Don't tell us your age. Don't tell us your parents' name. Some of the documents have that. Don't do that. Cover letter, you can use ChatGPT to do it. And here's an example of what to say on ChatGPT. And here's a survey. Some people, the survey that I give, I only get a few people there, and I know those people read the whole thing because they did the survey. A bunch of them don't. Okay, schoolspring.com right here. You just click on this and you go to Schoolspring. And this is what I want you to do, okay? So the first time you go in, you have to register. But since I've already been registered, I think maybe it will remember me because I don't remember my password. We'll see. So if I sign in here, if it remembers me, it should just go straight. So I'll put my email, McCullough. It's already there, McCulloughMerlina@gmail. And then I will put my password, which I do not know if it's the same one that I remembered. Oh, of course not. So, so I don't remember. But anyhow, but if you do remember, then if you don't have an account, you go to sign up. Okay. So that's one thing that you do. And then another thing that you do is there's the job postings here that I did by Merlina McCullough. You push that one. And here's the one I'm talking about. Job postings from the 50 states of the US. And you can go on the bottom here and it's going to be on ABC order. So I did miscellaneous on the first part. Let me move this thing over. Okay, so here's the other. The other would actually have all the department. Oh no, let me see. Oh yeah, I have, these are some things that I have put in, some surrounding places surrounding Arkansas if you want to be close to us. These are the places on the other. And here are the 50 state capitals. If you want to be in a capital, if you want to be in a big city, I put all the capital of every state. And then here are the these are some of states have a statewide, employment-based thing. So I put it there. And the other big cities. So then it's an ABC order. Alabama, these are the top 10 states in sizes, by the way, not on the performance, in the sizes. So what you do is, for example, in Alabama, you just hit this Madison County, for example, and it goes straight to it. And he tells you the vacancies right here on the side. Okay, so Emilia, what was your literacy, right? High school teaching.
I'm teaching chemistry and science.
Chemistry. So let's find one. It seems like that's not the one. Let me see if we can find. What state? Did you say a state you want to be in? Tell me a state you want. Do you have a chosen state that you want to be in?
All of us, Doc?
Arkansas. Let's do Arkansas. Okay, so in Arkansas,
Kentucky or Arizona?
Oh, you want Arizona? Okay, Arizona right here. Okay, so
What,
Arizona,
what about Ohio, Doc? Is there Ohio there?
there's Ohio because it's in ABC order. I have all the states. So you just hit the arrow right here and you just go to the O. Okay. M and then N, Nevada, that's Las Vegas. There's the O for Ohio. Right here is Ohio. Okay. The capital is Columbus. I put in, so if you want to be in the capital, that's going to be more expensive, but usually they pay more. You're going to be able to find an apartment faster too, but it might be more expensive. So here in Ohio, they have Columbus Public School. And who asked for Ohio? Was it Gina? What do you teach, Gina?
Actually, special education, Doc, but actually they're asking for a license in Ohio. That's my problem too.
Well, then you can go to Ohio Department of Education. So you go to Ohio Department of Education. So you go to it and you see this home right here. Oh, let me see, go back to that. If you go to home, you could also go back to, let's see, Ohio. You can go teachers, renew a license. I think it would be under renew a license or maybe teachers. We'll see. Educator licensure right here. So educator licensure, apply for a new license. See, it's right here. Yeah, apply for a new license, and then it will tell you the interim educator, out of state applicants. It will be out of this is there might be an out of state applicants. It might be, oh, there's no out of country applicants. So renew a license information, apply for a new license. So you go here, apply for a new license. And then well, list of licenses. Okay. What is your area? You say special ed?
Yes, Doc. Special
Okay.
ed.
Do you see it?
It could be middle school, high school.
Okay, so school business, not coaching, professional. Yeah, it will be here. Oh, okay. How about out of state licensure? But it brings you back. Let me see. See, does it bring you back? It's confusing in some areas, I promise. It takes you to one place and then it gives you another place to go back. Anyway, 2-year, 5-year. Okay, 5-year teaching license, 1 year out of state teaching license. Let's look at this. Okay, yeah, you can do the 1 year out of state teaching license for those applying for to allow time to complete the Ohio license exams or reading and phonics coursework. So you can do your 1 year out of state, but there might be another one for the reciprocity. It's just not listed here though. So what you can do is it says look at the requirement. They want the standard teaching license. So you may want to do, if they don't have the out of country, you may want be one of those where if you have the Maryland license or the New Mexico license or the Illinois license, that would work here because that's another state. And then you can go, you have to pass the test, and the test for them is the educators foundations of reading exam. And then
So applying for a license, Doc, is different from praxis?
praxis is our test that's required to get a license. Okay.
Okay.
So praxis is what's the name of the test, the series of tests. It's under ITSA.org, but praxis and TOEFL are two different tests. So like TOEFL is under for reading, writing, speaking, and listening, right? And not all the states are requiring them, but praxis is required at all states. If you are going to be a teacher in the United States, you're going to have to take the praxis for your area. So for your special ed, you're going to have to take the praxis for special ed. So if you're a high school science or high school math, you have to take that particular test. Make sure that you take the right one. So you go to ets.org. So I think it sounds like Ohio one. If you cannot find out if there's an out of country one, you might want to go do the indirect way where you get the Maryland, New Mexico, Illinois, then do theirs. But here on ets.org, you will see you should see a place where you move these things out. You should see a place where you can the menu right here. And so the assessment products, that's an assessment product. And here's the TOEFL and here's the praxis. Okay, so you go to praxis subject or praxis core. Let's do the praxis core. And then here's the praxis core for elementary, for example. So in elementary, you have two different praxis. You can either do a test for just science only. You can do a test for the different subject area, the 4 core areas: social studies, math, science, and literacy. And then some of them would take the 4-hour test, which is for all 4 of them. I would not recommend you doing that unless you feel like you're really, really smart. But because you really need to study. And I would recommend doing math first, because math is universal language. So a lot of times people would actually start with math. Literacy, you might have to study for it because there might be some literature, some books that are being read on K6, for example, for elementary, that you may not be aware of. So it's a good idea for you to be ready for it. Okay, so you might want to study the standards of the literacy. You can go to ccss.org. That's the Common Core. That's really being used by all the states. They just call it their own state's name. Like Arkansas standards is actually like the Common Core. We just did a lot of tweaks on it, little bitty details changing, but it's actually the whole gist of it is actually Common Core. So go to ccss.org and you can see the standards for your level, and that's going to be covered by that test. Okay, so there are some tests there that may, there's some, for example, some literature that everybody had to do in high school, for example, Shakespeare and all these other things. Be familiar with them because they may have questions specific to those titles. So if you've never read them, then you'll never know what the story is about, what the characters, what the problem was, and the solution.
Romeo and
You
Juliet
would
daw
not
is
know those.
common.
So anyway, so that's what I would like to tell you for the elementary, to make sure that you study and start with math first. Do not do all 4 hours. Here's the TOEFL if you want TOEFL, but only a few states are requiring TOEFL. In fact, I want to Google that right now to see if to see what schools in the US or what states are still requiring TOEFL. Okay, so US states requiring TOEFL test. So let's see how many. No US state speaker requires a TOEFL test for all purposes. IELTS, yeah, IELTS will also be accepted, but I need to put 4 international teachers. For international teachers. Okay. See, not all US require it for international teachers seeking certification. So he was right. So Texas has specific requirements for English language proficiency. So effective. Oh, Texas starting January of this year will start having TOEFL. Before they did not, because I know that because some of our teachers went from Arkansas, teachers that could not pass TOEFL went to Texas, and now they've changed it. So starting in January, they now require TOEFL. So Illinois also, they also would Cambridge English assessment is an alternative for them. So they did not really say what state though. Yep. 84 overall will be a good score to have. I think it's 76 is the requirement in Arkansas. In the TOEFL, they have a different they have a different requirement number points, scoring points, and let me stop this one. Am I still sharing, guys? Am I okay now? Okay, so they have different cutoff score. So 84, for example, is the cutoff score for TOEFL. Arkansas will need a TOEFL if you want to teach in Arkansas. And Arkansas you cannot get a license unless you are here. So they need a personal presence. So they have to be personally here to get it. That's why it's impossible to get Arkansas license while you are in the other country, another country. But that's why I'm sharing about the 3 states that are easier. So Emilia, do you have a license from another state yet?
No, please, I have only for my state, my Ghana.
Okay, you might want to check on those Department of Education on those 3 states, okay? Maryland,
Okay,
New Mexico, and Illinois. Just look at the requirements and see which one is best for you, for your needs,
okay,
okay?
okay,
Because I would recommend that because you can put that in your cover letter when you can edit your cover letter as saying, I already have this particular state license, and that will make them
okay.
feel better, that you're gonna be easier
Yeah,
to translate the another state's license to another country. So
okay,
that, and some people that has, never that never have hired any international teachers, they're afraid of the licensure, compatibility. So that would make them have a peace of mind if they see that you are already qualified to teach in another state. Okay,
okay,
so I highly recommend that to go ahead and get those, especially that if it's not going to take very much to do it, go ahead and do it. It's not going to hurt
okay,
to have that. Okay.
okay,
Yeah, and just mention in your cover letter for sure. And your interview, drop a hint there, like, oh, I already have it, whatever. So,
okay,
but studying the standards is really a big must, guys. Okay, you need to know the standards for your area. So go to ccss.org, look at those standards, and so when they ask you questions specific to standards or what you're teaching, that you should be able to say, according to Common Core, this is what it is, or whatever. And so, or you can even go and look, if you know the state, go to their state Department of Education and look at their standards. In Arkansas, you can go to Arkansas Department of Education and you go under curriculum, and then there's an A to Z search in our main page, in the Arkansas Department of Education main page, and there's you can search by letter, and I think you can do under C is curriculum, and under that they will show all the different standards for every subject area. Okay, and that should be similar to different states. You do the same thing. Look at their actual, print it out or save it in your phone or whatever. Just be ready for it. What are they teaching that maybe your country is not teaching, or what are they, or vice versa? Because are they more advanced than you? Kind of look at that. Where do they teach certain subjects? They teach it in
okay,
seventh grade in your area, and then they do eighth grade or ninth grade. Those are some things you can say in your interview. Because it
okay,
shows that you've studied the standards. They're like, oh, this teacher knows the standards. Yay. Because that's impressive to me. When somebody says,
okay,
well, the standards in America says this and whatever. And so, but in our IB league, for example, you're an IB school, international school, you say an IB, we have this, and it's always higher. So it's impressive that it's always like, oh yeah, so it's better. Because the thing is, some of the administrators, which is sad, have this misconception that because our country is a poor country, is a third world country, they use that, but now the politically correct is that developing country. So we are from a developing country, and they're judging that our education is not as good in the US, which the truth is sometimes it's better. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to say this, but sometimes some schools in some countries are better than the US, because you can just see the ranking of our states where the US is. We've been in the top 10 for a long time now, in the top 20 something. And that's a sad thing, or close to 20. And so we are not number one in America. Okay, Singapore beats us every time, which is sad. But that's why that's how we're motivating everyone. Like, do better, because our children in America should be higher than this. And there's always a push here. I don't ever want to go political, but there's a push here in America to improve our education, because we are not ranking as high as we should be. And so, of course, you're not going to play the blaming game. They always say, well, the kindergarten teacher's blaming no, let me say, the kindergarten teacher's blaming the parents, and the first grade teacher is blaming the kindergarten teachers, and it's
I
going to
got it.
go from
Yes,
there.
yes,
You
yes.
don't want to do that, okay? You don't want to play the blaming game. It's all
Okay,
our fault. Sometimes it might be the culture. Sometimes it might be that our kids are not as go-getter as we want them to be. In the Philippines, because we're so poor, my parents were always putting a very big importance on education. My dad would always say, you know what, we're not going to have assets to pass down to you because we're poor, but if you have education, nobody can take that away from you. And
okay,
that is so true. That is so true, because I got my doctorate degree. Nobody can take that from me. and all that. So, but it opens doors, I always say things like it's humbling that I have this, but you know what? It opened doors for me. Being a minority in the United States in a rural country where there's a good old boy system, and I was able to become an administrator. So to me, it opens doors that I have my doctorate degree, that I have my national board certified, teaching requirement met. And so that's when they say, oh, maybe she knows something. Or maybe she opens her mouth and we know she doesn't know something. Kidding. But anyway, but it's I'm not saying that all about education. It's about what you know about the culture. It's what you know about people, getting to know your students and caring about them. That's why in your answers, in your interview, they're going to know if you care about students or not. They're going to know that, oh, you're just going there because, the money is 8 or 10 times the money, paid in your country. It's very obvious. That means that when you're being asked, do you have a question for us? And you're going to say, how much do you pay? One thing I would say, you did not study, you did not look at our website, because the website always prints the salary schedule and you'll see that yourself. And if you ask them something that's on their website, what's your mission and vision? Well, you didn't visit our website before you interview. You should have visited it, and you should know the mission and vision. You should have included some of those answers in the mission and vision. What's your discipline policy? Well, it's in the teacher handbook that's posted in our website. So things like that. If you are ready, I can tell when you're ready. You did your homework. You did not just go, okay, I'll have an interview. No big deal. No, it's a big deal. You study, you do your homework, because that's only when you do that, when it's obvious that you're ready. Okay, because as a former administrator, I know when somebody is prepared. Who is that? Is that your daughter or son? Emilia, is that your daughter? Huh?
Yes, my son.
Oh, how old is he? How old is he?
He's 5 years.
Oh, he's so cute. Can we see him?
Nana Kwame,
Huh?
come.
Come, I want to see.
Come, Stanley.
Oh, hello. I'm Miss Merlina. How are you?
Look.
Talk to stranger. You're doing okay? I'm talking to your mama. Do you call her mama or mommy? What do you call her?
Mommy.
Mommy. That's right. Okay. It's nice to meet you. Thank you. Nice to meet you, sweetheart. Was wondering. You're welcome, sweetie. Okay, so I didn't want to be spontaneous. I know it's your kid, and it's gonna be on. I just remember it's gonna be on Facebook and YouTube, and I don't know how you felt about that. So I'm sorry. I hope it's okay. That's why I didn't ask his name. I didn't want to do that because
I'm okay.
Yeah, because he's an underage. But anyhow, some parents are very particular about that, and so I always try to be careful about that and not give them personal information about your child. But they could ask you things about family, but they're not supposed to. But some might ask you, like, what are family members that you might be bringing here or whatever. And of course, you're not going to be rude and say, well, you're not supposed to say that. Well, I'll go ahead and share, but that's not something that they should have on their list to answer. If they felt comfortable to ask you that, maybe they're about to hire you. That could be a sign like that. If they're positive sounding and asking you more about yourself, you could look at it that way. It could be a positive, or sometimes they just be nosy. I don't know. I don't know, but I always think of it
I have a
positively.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Gina.
Is there any possible? No. Is it if you have already example JO or any everything is ready?
Job offer
Is
ready?
that the job offer? So is that 100% that you will be accepted in the U.S. Embassy?
That's a good question. Job offer is a sure thing that they want to hire you, right? But a lot of time they would say, I'll give you a job offer, but it's gonna be in the condition that the board will accept you, will approve you. Some schools would do that. Some schools would do it like after the board meeting, then yeah, we hire you, like that, okay? But that's not gonna be a guarantee about what the U.S. Embassy folks would do. Nobody can guarantee that, because every consulate employee that's going to be doing the interview is their own individual. Not even their bosses can tell them. They are the independent folks that would make their own decision based on facts, based on what they see on papers. So nobody could ever say, yeah, you're sure in. No, nobody. Not even your visa sponsors are sure about that. So that's why the job of the visa sponsors is to make sure that all the paperwork requirements are met, because that's been published. And the job of the consulate folks is to see, is this person really coming in to become a teacher that would learn about the American culture and then go back to the Philippines after 5 years, or to Africa after 5 years, or any country, and then teach them about what they learn about American culture for 2 years and then can come back. Are you really that kind of person, or are you that kind of person that are using, that's using this vehicle of J1 visa so you can stay here permanently? If you're that, then you are a bad fit. You're not going to pass. You're going to fail, because the intention of J1 visa is for the international exchange program between countries, between the teachers. You want to learn something so you can teach something. Okay. And you also teach the American kids about our own culture. That's why all or most of the visa sponsor would actually ask you to show videos or documentation showing that you are teaching your country's culture to your students, and vice versa, that they're also teaching you about the American culture. And then they want the video or picture of that. And I think every quarter, or maybe twice a year or once a year, they will ask you that. So I know that teachers would get together and like, okay, let's have a multicultural unit, and we'll have a multicultural party where they are actually studying different countries, or they're showing the Philippines as a sample, and then the other kids are doing other countries, and then one of them would be the US or whatever, studying about cultures. And they have a festival, they're eating, they're doing something like that to show that this is what the culture is in the Philippines. And so a bunch of them, like I said, when I invite my teachers here, the one close to Arkansas or within Arkansas, I said, this is an international, this is a cultural thing. We're sharing with them with our lechon and all this. I've had one on July 5th. Then I'm showing you, this is how we party in the Philippines. This is our culture, and then when you attend something that's in the US, that's something that's also they're teaching you. This is how the culture is. When you do the Thanksgiving, we don't do Thanksgiving party in the Philippines. We don't have Thanksgiving. It's only in America. So if you do a Thanksgiving, that's showing that, okay, I'm learning about what Thanksgiving is in America. Okay, how we celebrate Christmas. We don't do Christmas in the Philippines, one of the longest Christmas in the world, because we do it by the time September, we're already starting to do Christmas. Okay, by the time the burr comes, the September, all the way to December, the Philippines is the only one that does that in the whole world. Okay, I just read that the other day and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. we have the longest Christmas, spirit, longest, celebration in the world is the Philippines. So we don't do that here. By the time Thanksgiving, which is about third, fourth weekend of November comes, when you get finished, they have this Black Friday, which is like a big shopping day on Thanksgiving weekend. So Thanksgiving is Thursday. On the Friday morning, they have this big shopping day. After that, then they will have all this Christmas decoration. So they usually try to finish the turkey decoration and all the Thanksgiving, celebration first. Then they will do the Christmas. So when you go to the store, then you see all the Christmas things then, but usually not before that. Okay, so that's something that you learn too when you come here. Okay, and then when you attend a wedding, I think I've said this before, do not expect a big feast where they're feeding you with all the dishes and rice and all that. A lot of the weddings will just have the cake and punch. Okay, they'll have a fancy cake, really nice cake, and then they'll have the really fancy punch, really nice punch, and that's it. Okay, and everybody, so after the wedding, they'll go in the back of the church or wherever it is, and then they will just have they'll just have that simple one. But of course, the really rich ones, the one with money that have, spend thousands of dollars. Some people I heard would spend $40,000-$50,000 for a wedding. So you're talking 2 million to 2.5 million pesos just for a wedding. I didn't do that for my daughter. I just wrote her a check for a certain amount, and I'm like, budget that. If you want to budget as little that you want, but we're not giving more. So they budgeted. I think they spent, I don't know how much they spent, not all of them, but they got to keep the change. So it encouraged them to like, okay, you need to save as much as you can because that's yours. That's yours to spend. But not, some of the children here, some of the folks here in the US would actually borrow money for their wedding. And so they start with debt. That's not a good thing. That's part of the culture too. It's about living beyond our means sometimes, by using lots of credit cards. You know, I do that to myself sometimes, and I do projects in the Philippines because it's just handy to go, you know, to get a card and just charge it on your card, and that way they'll deliver it there. But then you have to pay it off as soon as the bill comes, or else you're gonna have problems. Okay, so that's one thing that you experience as a teacher in the US, is that the credit card is pretty much a must because it builds your credit. Because no credit, because you don't have credit yet, means bad credit, which means it's going to be hard for you to get a car and have installment plan because you have bad credit, and bad credit will be in the 500s. Well, the nice credit is 750 and up credit rating. Okay, so that's one thing that you also need to remember, is that you pay your bills on time, because it's going to show up in your credit report saying that you don't pay your bills on time. Even if you're 1 day late, it's going to hurt you. Okay, and if you get a credit card, then they usually start you with $500, $1,000, $2,000 that you know, card. Then don't try not to spend over 40% of that. So if you charge something that's over 40% and you get home and you look online, go ahead and pay straight from your bank. That way it's not going to show in your credit report that it's above 40% credit utilization. Okay, credit utilization, credit usage is like whatever your whole credit is you have some combination of your credits. For example, $50,000, and then you spend about 20,000 out of 50,000, then that means that it's gonna hurt your credit. Okay, so whatever you are allowed to borrow, don't borrow all of it, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that's something you have to learn when you get here. Because in the Philippines, I don't know about this in Emilia in Africa, but in the Philippines, it's frowned upon to use a credit card. They think that, oh, you should not use it. You know, it's like because it's a big interest and so on, especially if you don't pay it in full. So it's like a bad connotation, negative connotation. But in America, it's pretty much a must. You cannot rent a car without one. You cannot stay in a hotel, even if you have loads of cash, without a credit card. So you really need to have at least one. Okay, and you cannot get one without your social security number. So that's the first, is having your social security number. Apply for it as soon as you can in the closest social security office, because it cannot be done online. Okay, so what are the good
And
questions?
the social security, doc, in the US?
Yeah, in the US, you will get that. You will get that your school administrator usually, or somebody that's taking care of you, that meets you in the airport, they usually help you with that. So remind them that especially in a school where they've never hired a Filipino teacher before, an international teacher before, and you are the first, you need to remind them that the first thing I need to do is go to the Social Security office, because that's the key to everything. That's the key to the state issued
So
ID.
we can still get that as social security even that we are still here in the Philippines.
No, you
We can
cannot.
still apply.
Nope, you cannot. You have to appear in person. Okay, you cannot even
Ah,
do it online. You have to be there in person. And then they want your paperwork, all your paperwork, your visa stuff and all that, your passport, all that stuff. You bring it with you, because they're gonna need a lot of paperwork for you to have it, because they're I don't know if they're keeping the original or they're making copies. I don't remember. But I have gone to Filipinos teachers before, but I don't go with them to the window when they go see. I usually just stay by the lobby and watch them, because that's not really me. I mean, that's not, I'm not needed. So I'm just sitting there with them in the lobby, and when they get called, they go by themselves with their paperwork, and then they will wait usually 2 to 3 weeks before they get their card. And when you get your card, that's when you actually would take it to your HR, to your person in your office in a school, and they make a copy of it so that they could start your process on paying you, because they cannot pay you without a social security number. Okay, so sometimes they would say, well, we can't pay you right now, and that's why you have to get your money ready, your rent and all that, for at least a month, because in case the school will not pay you for another month, because your social security is not here. So and I remember a teacher online begging, because he didn't have any more money, and he's not getting paid yet, and he did not know that he's supposed to have this extra money. So he was begging for like help. You don't want to do that, okay? So you make sure that you have enough. Whatever the rent is times 3. So if it's 600, do 1,800. That's just for the apartment to get it, because they're gonna charge you the first month, the last month, plus a deposit. So that's why it's times 3. That's why you need to pay the first time that you get an apartment. You pay in advance. Okay, so they want teachers, because we pay well, because we get paid well. So they know you're not going to be going apartment to apartment every month. They're going to know you're going to stay there if it's good. And a lot of times we have the administrators would get an apartment across the road from the school. So you'll just be, it's very close. You can just walk. And sometimes there's nothing available. So you have to ride with people. And then when you ride with people, make sure you offer money for gas. Okay. And a bunch of good folks would not take it. But if they don't take it, take them out to eat or something. Thank them somehow. Okay. Because you don't want to be a user. You don't want to be a user at all. Somebody that would just use people. It needs to be back and forth on a friendship, right? I mean, but nobody has to keep up with it. But you just need to remember that, oh my gosh, they've driven me every day. And what can I do for them? Might be as simple as cooking them adobo or, something local dish that you like to cook. Emilia, what's your favorite dish that you cook and give others? Ours is adobo. You have the best food. Nigerian food is the best. You know that? One of my best friends, Nigerian, and one day I was like so stressed out in my office, and Fulaki brought me this Nigerian food with really tender meat and I forgot the
I'm
name,
coming.
and the plantain bananas in there. Oh my goodness, that just really melted my heart because that was so nice that she brought it with rice too. And I said, Nigerians, you have the best dishes. And so when I go to some big cities, I would look for Nigerian restaurants because I really like that dish. But I don't remember the name of it. What are you famous for? What dishes are famous for your country? Because ours is adobo, lumpia, pancit, noodles. What's yours? As part of culture,
We have banku, fufu, and pisi, and then we also have rice,
rice, yeah.
tuzafi, yes.
Beans. Yeah, you do a lot of beans too,
We
right?
have beans,
Yeah.
yes, beans, and then we have tuzafi, we have wache.
Okay. But when you come to the US, you're not going to have all those food, Amelia. So make sure that some ingredients that might be hard to get here. You need to check on Amazon.com and see if you can get it ordered, that they can ship it to you. But otherwise, you might have to bring some. My husband and I, we would bring the beans, those pinto beans that we could not find in the Philippines that back then in the 80s. Now I think you can. But like the mix, the cornmeal mix, because at that one time we want cornbread and we could not find one. Now it's going to be dangerous because they're going to think you brought some kind of drug because it's powder. But anyhow, it's we did that because we knew we could not find it. But now anymore, you can go to Amazon, and if it's in Amazon, you should be able to get it. Because if you have a favorite dish, but the rice, because Filipinos eat rice 3 times a day, you can buy them in Walmart, which is local stores here that are everywhere. Dollar store also sells them. So you don't have to worry. But if you like sardines, like the local sardines that's really smelly and all that stuff, you can't get that here unless you go to some Asian market or some African market. I don't know if you have anything that smells, because we have a lot of food that smells bad, like dried fish. I don't know if you do dried
Yes, we
fish.
have dried
Do you?
fish.
See, we eat dried.
Yes,
Oh
we
my
have
gosh,
dried fish.
if you ever come here, you can eat our dried fish. That's what we do when we get together here. We would do dried
Oh,
fish
okay.
in my porch because it smells so bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have one called kaku. It smells that bad, but
Yes.
when
Yeah.
you use it to prepare food, it's nice.
Yeah. It's good when you eat it, but you don't want to smell it. My husband would not mind. He would just like be nice about it, but no, I don't like to have to smell it every time I come in my house. No. So my porch is big, so I'll just like go over there and have my deep fryer there ready all the time. So I'll just, heat it up and boom, it's done. So yeah, it's so funny because we're a tradition here, and this is part of the culture too. Is when they come to my house in the morning, we always have dried fish for some reason, because this teachers, and that's why they asked me, what can I bring you? And I said, bring me some dried fish. Because I always share it back with them because we would have it for breakfast. And my favorite, and Giselle, your cousin, Abby and Leslie have actually done this. They put like tomatoes, like they have this dried fish and they put those really big tomatoes and they would fry that with, after they cook the dried fish, and they would put those tomatoes in. Oh my gosh, it is so good, with those tomatoes in there. It's making me hungry because I've not eaten yet. But anyway, yeah, it's, that's part of culture. So you share that, your culture through food, because in some schools, they would have like a monthly potluck. They call that potluck when everybody brings food. they have a birthday potluck. So every end of the month, they would celebrate some people's birthday. There might be 3, 4 people at one time that they would celebrate them, and they would have a potluck. Everybody brings food. And that's when, as an American and international teacher, you share your food and you explain to them. A lot of times they would even type up the recipe and put it next to their food. So whoever wants it, they take a picture of it and they could do it at home. That's one thing. I'm going to ask the folks that are coming to my party that I'm going to ask them to do that. Try to see if you can print out the recipe. We'll put it right there next to the dish. So if anybody wants it, they could take a picture and do it at home. Because same thing with with American friends, that are coming in, if they can give the recipe, that would be nice. And that way everybody's learning about that. Okay. You can always win people through food. So if you get a question about what happens if you have to deal with colleagues that are hard to get along with, win them with food. You get to know them, you ask them for help, but then you also share your food. When you have lunch, pack them an extra adobo, an extra lunch thing, and then share with them. It's like, hey, this is what our food is like. Do you want to taste? Something like that. So you win them over with kindness, right? Because they might be ornery because they have a rough life, or they have not an easy life at home. They may be fighting a lot with their husbands or boyfriends, or something like that about their life. You don't judge them because that's them, is because of their life at the moment. So so they might need kindness, really. From anyone, from everyone. And then sometimes some of our local teachers would avoid them. Nobody sits with them. And you feel so bad because I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody's sitting with this teacher so I'm the one that would go and reach out, and I would actually would sit with that teacher, because I don't want the teacher to feel like left out. Nobody wants to sit with her. So I'm sitting with her, and she becomes my friend. I've done that in every school I worked in. So anyway, and that is a good thing to do. Always look around students, especially when you still see students. I observe my students, by the way, when they go elementary, especially when I go to the playground, because I had playground duty. I would always observe my students. Who do they play with? Are they playing by themselves? Are they alone and just singing in the swing by themselves, bored to death because nobody's playing with them? I always pay attention to that, because that's when my class ambassador works, because I'm like, you're not doing a job. Supposed to be right there with a new student. That new student was alone. Your job is to make sure that he or she has somebody to play with. So we have a female ambassador and a male, because if a male student, they're going to want a male to hang out with. So you can do that. That way your students, your new students especially, or your shy students, would always have somebody to talk to, because they know that's their job. I'm just doing my job. So you have to have the right personality to do that. You don't want a child that's ornery and mean to be the class ambassador. You want somebody that's friendly. I would make a good ambassador, because I'm a circle people pleaser. Anyway, so were you there when I talked about the different personality test, about the shapes? Who knows about that? Have you seen that episode when we talked about that? It's a personality test you can give your students, okay? And I think you can Google this, but there was, you give them the shape, or you can draw it on the board. You can do circle, square, triangle, or squiggle, just a squiggle. And you ask them which one is the shape that best represents you. Okay. And you don't tell them the meaning of it until you can give them like a sticky note or an index card, and they can draw their shape there. And then you tell them the meaning. Okay. If you're a circle, you must be this happy person that's like pleasing. You want friends around. You will just have this really outgoing person. A lot of time it fits. I'm a very circle person. And anyway, a square would be the boss. They want to be the boss. In any place, you want to be the boss. You want people to follow you, but you can be bossy. Okay. So you be careful about the square. If you pick somebody's square, because they really are, they just want to be a leader. But sometimes a leader that nobody wants to follow. So you be careful about that kind of leadership. So that's when I even talk to my students about that. If you have the square, because it's a private thing, they don't show their friends, they just by themselves, But I said, if you are square, you might want to be careful, because you need to watch. Are you being bossy, or are you being considerate of your classmates? Make sure that you don't want to be just the boss all the time. You're taking turns, And then the triangle would clash with a square, because a triangle would also want to be boss, but not as bossy as the square, but they are the rule followers. You have 3 points. they have to be like, you have to follow the rule. We could never bend the rule because, you know, you're very strict and really like, you know, party pooper because they want to not, you know, they really want to follow, which means the bossy one, the square and the circle, the square and the triangle usually do not get along. So in your grouping, you might want to not put a square, a really strong square and a really strong triangle. You will not be able to accomplish anything. They won't. So try to avoid those, you know, very obvious square and obvious triangle. And then the squiggle, the people that pick the squiggle, they are the disorganized ones. A lot of your ADD kids would choose those because they could not get themselves organized. It's just all over the place. You know, you can tell by their desk is just a mess. You know, that's why, you know, having a time at the end of the day or the last 2 minutes as a cleanup time as part of your schedule is a good thing because everybody has to, and I do this the first day. We have this, I would never want to hear saying, oh, that's not my trash. That's somebody's. No, this is our classroom. This is our trash. This is our classroom to take care of. So everybody, when you see a trash, even if it's not yours, you pick it up. And everybody, you should not be throwing trash. It should be in the trash can. I don't want anybody doing a little you know, ball of this paper and started throwing in like a basketball in the trash can because then you mess and then it's going to be all over the place. So don't do that. That's not good practice. But anyway, so if you put that as a built-in in your schedule at the end of every period, okay, cleanup time. You know, it's our exit slip today, 3, 2, 1, for example. 3 things you learn, 2 things you're gonna be practicing on for students, and then 1 thing that you still have a question for me. You know, once you do that, then make sure that you do your cleanup. Okay, so some teachers would do a little bulletin board where they put the sticky note or the index card there for the 3, 2, 1, and then the teacher can read it, you know, as they are waiting for the other next group of students. They're reading the 3, 2, 1 from the last one, and they'll know exactly what are the things that they still have questions on. So the one under the one thing you have a question on, those are the things that the kids are still confused on. So you may want to fix it for the next period. Okay. So anyway, so those are some things that you can do in your classroom. And any more questions? Good job, Gina. You're really doing a great job of leading our discussion into the topics
Thank
that
you,
you
Doc.
addressed. Yeah, thank you for that. Anybody else? Carmelita or Marco, Maria Amelia? Any
Yes,
of you
Doc.
guys?
Yes,
Huh?
Doc.
Yeah.
Yes, Doc. I have
Go
a
ahead, Carmen.
question, Doc.
Uh-huh.
Usually, how many days does it take to get the licensure, the teaching licensure, Doc?
That's a
Because
good. Go
in
ahead.
my case, Doc, I processed my licensure, teaching licensure last April in New Mexico, but until now, I don't have it because my fingerprint background was not yet, probably
Uh,
not checked
the
by the,
fingerprinting. Yeah,
yeah,
That's so hassle.
I
yeah,
sent it
we
to
also
Gimal.
require
I know it's not
fingerprinting.
in Gimalto, it's in Ident2Go.
Your ID to go?
Ident2Go.
Oh, identify
Yes,
to go. Yeah, so that's their thing for their state. So so you need to email whoever's you've been emailing for it, or are you emailing somebody for it, or is there a portal?
actually, Doc, in the Ident2Go, there is no email ad. It's only the number that they have given me in the registration. But I search in the AI or using ChatGPT to give me the contact number, but then the contact number was it was there in North Carolina. So I was not able to check in Ident2Go.
Okay, because Identigo, I think it's an app that schools use, right? So that might be something that you want to visit their Department of Education for that state. What state was it again?
New Mexico, Doc.
So New Mexico, find out the New Mexico Department of Education and the licensure. You find out the contact and email information and in that website, in that page of the licensure, and email them and say, hey, I have already applied. I wonder how long it would take, whatever. They would be able to answer that. Okay, I work at the
Okay.
Department of Education, and so we have different departments.
Ma'am,
So
have you finished
where I work was,
uh,
go ahead.
your fingerprinting?
Yes,
So
ma'am, I'm
the
done. You're asking me,
So
ma'am,
where did
Ma'am Gina?
yeah. Where did you get your fingerprinting? Where did you get the form?
I just downloaded it there, ma'am, because in the New Mexico Ped website, ma'am, there is a link there for you to download the form. Then afterwards, you go to the nearest, if I went to,
NBI.
yeah, yes, NBI,
Yeah,
ma'am.
NBI. I went to NBI, but they said they didn't do the fingerprinting.
They
But I
don't?
think in Camp Evangelista. Yeah, in NBI here in the Cagayan de Oro. But
Okay.
they said that the fingerprinting should be in not in Camp Alagar, in Camp Evangelista.
Okay. So they will tell you
Ah,
that.
But I don't have. But I
Yeah.
don't have the form, doc. Can we ask for the form so that I can
Well,
download
you
it?
have to do
Then
the
I can
state. You have
start
to
my
go to the state. The
fingerprinting.
state, Gina would have different forms. So you need to go to the state's Department of Education, like I showed you earlier, and get the form. Okay? You get the form because
Okay.
it is official form from that Department of Education. They'll have their own Department of Education stamp on it. So it's not, I don't think it's a federal form. I think it's a state form. So in ours here locally, like my son was getting his background because he was going to go into teaching, but he ended up not. He was his computer science, and he was going to be a computer science teacher, and he went and got the background, info, and the only had to do here is go to the police station. They have a form in the police station, and then you just they filled out the form, and then they stamped it or whatever with their stamp, and then watch him do his fingerprints, and do that, and then he sent it off. Yeah. And so that's what we had to do here, is just our local police station. And so in the Philippines, it might be the formal NBI. I don't think they'll do the local. I think they want the formal, which is the NBI, which is your federal one, right? So I did not know NBI was somewhere else. I thought NBI was only in Manila. So it's also in other places.
Yeah, in
yes,
Cagayan de
doc,
Oro,
there
doc.
is.
Like we were there, but they didn't allow us to have the fingerprinting.
Mm.
So we went to another. So some of my co-teacher, she has already done her fingerprinting in Camp Evangelista, Cagayan de Oro.
Okay, so it's a bigger place. Is it a bigger place? Is that what they want? Is the bigger place?
Yeah, the
Normally.
same, doc.
Okay.
Yeah, because Camp Evangelista is it's a military camp.
Oh, I see. Okay. How about Amelia? What do you do in Nigeria? What kind of place do you get the background, fingerprint card in? Is it from a police station? What is it?
Yes. From the police station, you have the central police station, and then you'd go there for the fingerprint.
Yeah. Because the point is they just want to make sure that you don't have a record. But the thing is, the school, I mean, that's just a requirement that anybody that works with children in the US, and I'm sure all over the world, will not have a criminal record. Okay, so that just saying that this is a good guy, it's a good girl, that you're not a person with a criminal person coming to teach our children. That's what it is. So it's a requirement they have to meet. Okay. Um, they did that, like when I was administrator, and I wanted to train a bunch of parents in order to help us, because there were a bunch of doctors' wives and lawyers' wives bored to death, and they want to volunteer at school, but I can't just have anybody volunteer. So I asked the police, the SRO, the school resource officer. I said, is that okay if you can like get their background, like if they give you the information, and then can you do a background information on them before I provide training for them to be with students, because we would have like programs like I would take the teachers, for example, in English, and the English teachers would be coming with me and observe other English teachers or whatever, for example. And then we want the substitute as the type of parents that have been trained by me, but I can't train just everybody. So he went and got their driver's license, I mean their copy for them, and then they got their social security, whatever it is. I don't want the information. I want them to give it to the SRO, to the police officers. So they did that. So after he cleared that they are all good, it's okay to be with children, that's when I provided the training. And then we were able to have them help us when we have little short 1 hour, 2 hour thing where we're just doing things in our school, and somebody had to watch the kids. So we were using them that way. But they have to have the trainings and things that not to do, the rules and all that to do for, like we do with our substitutes. And so that criminal background check is so important in the school. Okay. So yeah, just find out where it is in your closest area. Marco, where is your closest area for your fingerprint thing?
Here in city, Doc.
Where?
NBI.
NBI, as in Manila? So
In Zamboanga City.
Zamboanga City. Okay. So you said, Emilia, you said in Nigeria you have like a central police place?
Yes, we have a central police station in Ghana.
Ghana. Oh, you have to travel.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm in Ghana.
Oh, you're in Ghana. I don't know why. I get confused because there's 3 different countries. I think there's Nigeria, Ghana, and something else. I forgot the other one that attended. And I get you all, I'm sorry, countries confused. So anyway, but I really think that these are things that everybody needs to know. That the fingerprint is a big thing to get your license. Okay? And so yeah, get those 3 states would be good. Anybody else would have questions? Nobody else? Because we can end this.
Me, Doc, I have a question, but I think it's personal.
Okay. You can
Yeah,
email
I
that
think
to
I
me.
have email, yeah.
Email it to me, or you can stay after everybody leaves and we can talk and not record it. Okay, if you want to do that. Any of you that want to do that, I always do that. I would just turn the camera off, so it will not be recorded, and we can just talk. If you have any question that's relate only to you, and you don't want anybody, the whole world to see it, it's okay to do that. Just let me know. Do you want to stay, Gina, after everybody leaves? Gina?
Yes, Doc.
You want to stay? Okay.
Yes, Doc.
We'll stay and I will turn off the camera, okay? And anybody else that would like to stay, you'll have to I guess I don't know. I don't know how you do that with more than one person. You'll just have to email me. Gina asked first, so she gets to do it this time. But anyhow, 10:30, 10:25. So we're doing good because we're about to finish. So we don't have as many today. Most people are on vacation. They have texted me, we are out of stay. We're gonna sleep in. I'm like, that's okay. I understand. Summer is our time. So I really appreciate the few folks that are here today, because we are able to have enough topic that we should have enough for people to watch later and to learn from. So we learn from each other. And Emilia, especially, I want to thank you because you have to bring that African perspective. And because other countries are watching it too, but they're not attending. So you pretty much, you get the non-Filipino perspective, which is so important. Because sometimes you could become so ethnocentric. It's all about your culture, and I don't try to avoid that. That's just not all about us, especially in this portal where it's gonna be watched by different cultures. And that's why I'm trying to be careful by saying, okay, about other cultures. And so I invite folks that are watching, if you want to join us. The next one will be on July 12th. Okay, that's always in every other Saturday. So we're going to skip this coming Saturday. It's my party. And so then after that, the 12th would be when we see each other again. If you have any topics that you have ready, like Gina really asked some awesome questions today that led us to more conversations, I would love for you to share with me anything cultural like that, because I think that helps others. Okay, remember, culture is not just about food or dance, or it's all about the way of life. Anything about life is culture. So if we're talking, anytime I share with you, that's why, I share with you, and it's a bunch about my life personally, really, because it's about life in the rural Arkansas. And so when I bring the teachers to Dallas, which is where my sister lives, that's life in the city. That's the urban life. And I want everyone to see that part. We need to come up with another trip to go somewhere. But then they're already doing it. I'm so jealous because they're over there in Chicago. A bunch of them are going to Chicago right now, and they're doing, like, a bunch of them are going, but they know my husband's not in good health. He had a couple of strokes, and so it's really hard to leave for so many days unless I take him. So it's I don't want to do that. So, with my consulting work now, the one that I accept are the ones that are just a day trip where I don't have to spend the night. And I can take as many as long as I'm back, by 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'm not gone overnight. So that's kind of hard whenever you're still trying to, get better from some health issues. So yeah, so that's what it is. And you just have to accept that's part of life, right? Yeah, just dreaming right now though, going to the Philippines. I miss the beach so much. Oh my gosh, I have not been to a beach for like 3 years possibly. And so I am so like beach hungry. We have our local beach here. I need to do a reel on that. We have our local beach here, which is a river. Okay. And I was really the first time I saw this, I'm like, that's a different one because a river, of course, it's little, right? They have all these trees. You can see the end in ocean, like huge, right? And like, okay, so they have this little sand thing, and they have the people were bringing their umbrellas and their chairs, and they have their little picnic, and I'm like, it's like a beach, but so different. In the beach there in the Philippines, we would have this little tiki hut thing and little cottages, all that where people can rent, and they would have a party all day there, right? Well, here you pretty much provide everything. You have a cooler full of in your truck, and you just have to set up your own. It's very different. It's pretty still. So I wanna do some pictures there when I visit close to me. It's very like 5 minutes from me, but but it's so funny because it's just so different. But when I brought Filipino teachers here, we opened the rocks up. You open some rocks there, and you can see those little crawdads. That's like little, looks like lobster, but little baby, and they are like they run really fast. I mean, they go backwards, and then and you catch them. And of course, you don't eat the little bitty crawdads. So what I did last time, I had a bunch of them in a bucket, maybe 20 of them, because we had so much fun just looking at rocks and trying to, catch them from the back because they always want to go backwards. So you wait for them in the back because then you catch them. And then some of them are big enough that they'll bite you like a crab. And these are like lobster thing. And so then I put it in the bucket and I put it in a pond. I have pictures of my pond in the, you might have seen it. And I put in my pond. I don't know if they lived or not because you never know that, right? And so I know more than 20. So if they live, they'll have babies now there. Or if they died, they got eaten. Okay, because that pond is more than 30 years old. So there's a lot of fish in there. Anyway, that's life in rural Arkansas, in rural America. And so you don't know where you're going to end up in. And in all probability, you might end up in a rural area. Now you know how it looks like. I garden every summer. Most people here garden every summer. And I'm about to do a shout out to the Amish farm. You know what Amish are, right? Does anybody know what Amish is? Nobody. Amelia, do you know Amish or Gina?
No.
You know what
No,
Amish?
no, Doc.
Okay. Amish community, that's like they were originally European, so they're all white, right? And they are of German or Dutch descent, so they would speak their own language in their community, and they wear, like you would see the old movies, those the original the colonists when they came to the US the first time, what they are wearing, this look like a nun. The colors, the gray colors or the white color, they don't wear colorful colors, okay? But they are the best folks. I love them. They are neighbors to us, so they have a big community now, sir. I want to say more than a dozen families here now, and they buy big land because they farm. They would have kids that are 6 kids and up, maybe 10, 12 kids, and they wake up early and they tend to farm, and they have the best farm, right? And so what I don't raise in my garden, I go to the Amish farm and I would buy. Vegetables are cheap. It's like, I don't know if it's cheap in the country now, but it's 50 cents, about 50 cents, which is about what would be 25 pesos. Is 25 pesos cheap in the Philippines for like a vegetable, like a zucchini or cucumber? Is that cheap or
Zucchini, so Doc, here is very expensive,
how
but only
much?
the cucumber has I
How
think
much?
the little one, it's not by kilo, but by piece.
How much?
I think more than 50 plus or something. It's
Oh,
very
wow. So
tiny.
it's more than $1. Yeah, so it's like half.
Yeah.
It's like half price then.
But the cucumber, Doc, we can buy, especially in the market, in the wet market, we can buy 20 pesos per kilo.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
11. Yeah.
So, but here, we raise them in the summer, right? But my cucumber right now is big like crazy. I mean, I cannot eat it fast enough. Like I have to look for people to give it to. I don't sell it. So I'm like, okay, you would deliver it to this neighbor already. Let's see what neighbor else would need. Because and some people on Facebook would comment on it. So I would message them and I would say, hey, you want to come over and pick the vegetables for me? Or you can, I already picked for you. You come and get it. Because I have this salad deal and it's just my husband and I salad, and then I put like tomatoes and I put cucumbers, but that's just us. You get tired of it, like eating like rabbits. But but that's part of rural Arkansas, okay? And having the Amish community here, they bake. They have the best goods. Like yesterday, we went down there. They open Tuesday and Friday, and they have the best tasting cake and cookies and breads. Like the bread was hot and it's all homemade. Okay, nothing, they don't believe in electricity. So everything they have is either battery operated or gas operated, but not electricity. They don't have any electrical lines in their homes. They don't believe in mirrors. They don't have mirrors because for vanity, maybe they use the water for, to see, but they can have pictures. We cannot have pictures of them, but we can take pictures of their stuff. Like I've taken a picture of their buildings and of their greenhouse with all these white wonderful plants. And yesterday I talked to the person that was here first, the family, so it's like the leader, I guess. And I talked to him and I said, hey, I'm about to post something on Facebook. He knows Facebook about you guys. Is that okay? Would that be a problem? He said, oh no, just tell them that we're not open on Sunday and Thursday, okay? And I said, on our time, I said, okay, I'll do that. He knows me really well. He said, are you Merlina? And I said, yeah, I'm Merlina. And so he said, well, we climb your mountain. We have this little mountain thing in our community that we own. I said, we climbed your mountain the other day. I climbed the tower and I got to see Missouri, which is the next state. I'm like, yeah, you do. You have very, very beautiful view there. But he was just telling me that he remembered my name. But anyway, yeah. So I said, I'm about to do a shout out for them and to thank them for being so great neighbors. They would have this breakfast with the community, right? And it's just donation. They don't say how much. They just put this. They have this big bucket with the whole, and you can put your donation there. So I would invite a bunch of this, the international teachers to come and stay with me, and that way we can go to the Amish breakfast. And they loved it because the food was so good. It's like the sausage. They had actual pigs that they had butchered in order for that breakfast because people from other states are coming. It's so busy. Like they have buses, like church buses and the buses there that were coming in to eat breakfast. And they only do this in March and October. Okay, so the next one is October. I was just telling him, said, hey, tell me the date in October where you're going to do it because I'm going to tell the teachers to come. And so they can come and eat breakfast with me and they would buy plants and things like that they sell. So anyway, that's part of the culture. Those are things that we will learn that's different. Okay, and so that's why I had to warn them. I said, hey, don't be taking pictures of them. I don't know what they believe. Somebody told me that they believe they believe that their souls, I don't know, but that believe it, why they don't want pictures. They just said, do not take pictures of our children, do not take pictures of us. And I said, that's fine. I understand. I respect it and all that. So when I take pictures, I want to make sure it's just the things, not the people. Okay. So that's something that you would learn from here. And
So Doc,
yeah,
we are not allowed to take pictures of them.
no.
We are prohibited.
That they don't want to. They don't want to take picture taken. And so because I know that, I respect that. So when I take pictures, I want to make sure they're not part of it. I was like, hey, I'm taking pictures. Go on the side because I'm not gonna want your picture in there. So I want to take pictures of your vegetables, or whatever. So yeah, be a good neighbor, I guess what I'm trying to say. In America, we have all kinds of diversity here. And that's called religious diversity because they have their own religion, they have their own community, really. They have their own school. They don't send their school. They don't send their school to our school. They have their own school and they only go to 8th grade. So when they go to 8th grade, like in long time ago here in the US, that's used to be what it was. 8th grade, they're done. They didn't have 9th grade and above. They're 8th grade, they're ready for life. But
but they are the same way because their life was the way of life in the 1500s here, 1600s. So they're preserving that old way of doing things. Everything is handmade. They make their own soap, they make their own bread, and they raise a bunch of chickens and have eggs, and just the clean way of life. That's what they do. And so bathroom wise, like the Philippines, they don't have the flush thing, but they have the little the pulley system or whatever, the scientific things. They do the simple machine stuff. And I went down there one day, and I was looking at their clothes hanger because they had these really long ones because they have a bunch of kids, right? And they were doing the pulley thing where they were just pulling it to them to get the clothes to them, back to them. And after that, they released the pulley and it went out again like that. That's impressive to me. And Dwayne said, well, that's what we used to do here. And so this was life from years ago, from at least 100, 200 years ago. And that's how they live. And so as teachers, as international teachers, to me, that's a really good field trip to do and learn that life. So the teachers around here, they know, like, oh yeah, Miss Merlina's going to take us to the Amish farm. So yeah, if whenever you come to the US, you come visit me, we'll go to the Amish farm. 10 minutes from me. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good, I thought I have a new one, but just came in. What was it? Lila? Just Lylin? Ispidelia, you're late. It's okay though. You can watch this video later. Lylin, do you want to talk to us or do you just want to listen today? Because we're about to say bye because we've been here since 7. People are sleepy.
Yeah.
Emilia,
Good
your son is so
evening.
patient. I'm sure he wanted mama's attention. And you are here talking to me. But that's why I want to say
Hello,
hi
Doc.
to him because I don't want him to feel ignored. Anyway, Lylin, did you want to talk?
Hello, Doc. Good evening
Hey,
from
Lylin.
Philippines. I just joined
Yeah. Did
the
you have,
Zoom.
yeah. How did you get the link? Did you just get it from the website or the Facebook?
It was emailed to me.
Okay, so you are already, you just haven't been here because I don't remember your name. Have I?
Yeah, but then again, I was not able to join
Okay.
few last Zoom.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, this
yeah.
is Zoom 101. So I don't remember everybody. Usually if it's a unique name or unique country, I'd remember. But if it's like a bunch of different same names, we have so many different names that are the same. We have lots of Marias. Carmelita, you are unique. We have lots. Maria would be the most common name in our country, right? And for the boys, it will be Juan. So Emilia, what's the most common name in your country?
It
You don't
is
know?
diverse. We
Diverse.
don't really have,
No,
yes, it's
like
diverse.
ours, we have in the US, the most common last name is Smith. So Smith would be a million of Smith. Okay, a few million Smith here. That's the most common in America.
We are now using the local names the more. So the one which is happening more is the Adam. That's the local name, which means grace. Most people are naming their children, yeah, Adam.
So religious,
Yeah.
kind of religious related. Nice.
Yes.
Have that. Yeah. Because I really think that African names are so creative. Like I know they mean something, but a lot of times I cannot pronounce it well. So when I have students that have creative names like that, because I would say, your parents are so creative, because they would put things together in words, right? And it means something. And I could not say it. And I don't, I always believe that you do not ever murder somebody's name because the name is very special to every one of us. And so murdering your name, like mine would always be murdered, like Merlinda or Marlena with an M-A instead of M-E. I said, you mean Merlina, right? Because it's just, call me Ellen if you cannot say Merlina. But yeah, it's Juan and Maria are common to us. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, you notice that in this forum, or actually because Emilia is from another country, I'm really also learning about your country and I'm excited about it. So Lylin, you are in for a treat. Too bad that you're coming in late. So we'll have to, Lylin, our next meeting is on July 12th. We're gonna use the same link. We're gonna do the same time. And I
Okay.
always try to be, I'll try to do about 3 hours, but we never meet it. But it is 3 hours and 40 minutes, and we're about to meet it because I'm about to say bye. I just want to say hi to you since you just came in late. So anyone
Yeah.
else have a last thing to do? Lylin, do you have a question for me? Anything you want to say before I close up?
Well, I really wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude for this opportunity, but then again, although it's too late, but this one is very helpful. I can review the video, this one. So everything that you sent to me, I reviewed it, I watched it, and it's so very helpful to me because I have this I aim this also this what it- US journey po.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, you feel free to email me if you need to. It's McCullough, Merlina at Gmail, okay? And we're in YouTube. Guys, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe in YouTube. That's free. Don't subscribe in Facebook. That's a paid. Just like on Facebook or join. But and then they made you meet this task saying you have to publish something that about subscription, and I would do it and then I would delete it. I've been trying to delete this one message that was attached to my message. Anyway, so yeah, please like us. Our goal is 10,000. We are now 8,500, close to 600. So we are 1,400 short in Facebook. And on YouTube, we need 1,000 and we're only on 600 something. So we are needing some folks in both places. And that's when we get ads. And when we get ads, we get some money. And in the money, I want to use it when we do field trips for the international teachers. That's what I plan to use it for. So that's why I want to kind of fundraise that way through Facebook and YouTube so that we can make funds and go to places. Kind of,
That's amazing, Doc.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, thank you. So I've been trying to make content, right? And so I know that's why I recognize Carmelita because she's always one of my, on Giselle too, always one of those that would, Amelia too. Oh my God, you're top fans there. You're always liking it and or doing comment. And I love that. That really makes my day. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay. All right. So with that
Thank
said,
you, Doc.
yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Lylin, thank you for coming on at least. And next time you open your camera, okay? When you come in, I want to see your face because you might
Yeah,
not
yeah,
see it today. That's all right. That's very common. First time, most folks would just rather listen and not really talk. Or sometimes
yeah.
they want to talk with their camera off. It's okay too. I understand totally. There's so many Zoom meetings that I personally attend that I would like show my face the first when we introduce ourselves, and then I'm just turning off my camera the whole time. I'm listening, but I'm cooking, I'm doing something else. So yeah, I totally understand that. Okay. All right. So to that
Yeah.
said, I say bye, and I want to remind you that you are making a difference in the lives of your students. One student at a time, you're making a difference. So keep doing what you do best. Okay. All right. All right. So talk to you on July
Thank
12th
you so
or
much.
Thank you, Doc.
See
bye,
you.
Giselle.
See
Okay.
Thank you.
you. Bye,
Thank you,
Thank
Doc.
Giselle,
See
for
you.
being
you.
Thank you so
co-host
much,
today.
Doc.
Okay,
You're
bye-bye.
welcome.
Bye, Carmelita.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Okay. Yep.
See you,
And
Doc.
Hi,
Sura
Doc.
and Marco. Aris, I guess we lost. Okay. Bye, Marco. Hey, good luck, Marco, on that result. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Doc.
Bye.
Hi, Doc.
Bye-bye.
Now it's
Yeah.
my
Oh,
turn.
yeah. Oh, Gina, don't forget. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me end it
I have
first.
some issue, Doc, like because
Hang on, hang on,
if I'm
hang on.
not up,
No, don't say yet because I don't want to say leave meeting right now. I want to stop the record. Hang on. Let me stop the record. Okay.
okay.
Recording. I'm looking for it. Where is it? Let me see more. Pause and stop recording. Okay. Hang on. Pause recording or stop recording.